Bless his counsel, our leaders, and all who work for the good of others. May we act with humility, compassion, and unity, seeking peace and understanding in all we do. We offer this prayer with gratitude and trust in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thanks, sir. All right, we're going to start with roll call, please.
Mike Gunner, Gwen Dusa,
Here.
Bill Gritzmaker,
Here.
Sherry Luce,
Here.
Ken Nichols,
Here.
Eric Rogers,
Here.
Timothy Waters,
Minutes from January 12th. Need a recommendation or a motion to those as presented.
I second.
Motion Bill, second Sherry to approve the minutes of January 12th, 2026 as presented. Any discussion? Hearing none, Lisa, call roll.
Eric,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Gwen,
Yes.
Sherry,
Yes.
Bill, Mike,
Carries. Moving on, we have presentations and communications. Danielle has included the 2025 annual report from the planning. Danielle, you want to discuss that?
Maddie actually prepared this report for you guys, and then planning commission reviewed it and recommended submitting it to you guys. This is something they do every year. It's just kind of a summary of what they completed last year and the projects they're working on in the upcoming year. But if you have any questions about that, I can answer them, or it's really just information for you guys.
Appreciate the information. I mean, some of these things, and I really like how they now, they've got it with the 25, 24, 23, 22, and 21 as well. Always seen that history. It's always a great perspective.
Anything further on the planning commission report? All right, moving on. Need a motion for tonight's agenda.
I move to approve the agenda as written.
I'll second that.
Motion Sherry, second Eric, to approve the agenda of January 26th, 2026 as presented. Please call roll.
Gwen,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Bill, Eric,
Yes.
Sherry,
Yes.
Mike,
Sherry. Moving on, public comment. You have two period for public comment. You can choose to discuss anything on the agenda or not. Obviously, we have some action items that I'm sure you're here to discuss. So you would probably want to speak if you want to discuss anything on the agenda prior. So I'm going to open up the floor. Just go ahead and approach the podium, state your name for the record, please.
My family has been actively involved in our town's rec sport program since my oldest daughter was 3 years old and wanted to play soccer. Over the years, our family has coached many teams, and today my daughter McKenna, who's 24, continues the tradition by coaching her goddaughter soccer team for the past 3 seasons. Youth recreational sports are not just games. Communities without accessible youth sports programs see higher rates of childhood obesity, increased mental health challenges such as anxiety and depression, and decreased social connections. When these programs disappear, children lose critical opportunities to build confidence, learn teamwork, and develop essential life skills. The community also loses something vital: shared spaces, shared experiences, and shared pride. I've had the privilege of being at the field nearly every Saturday morning during fall and spring seasons. I've cheered for countless children over the years. Most of them will never play varsity sports, but for a brief moment, they get to feel like the star every child deserves to feel like. They learn what it means to try, to fail, to support one another, and to belong. When my youngest daughter started soccer at 3 years old, she met her best friend that very season. This spring, she will marry her future husband with the same friend standing beside her as her maid of honor. Would she have met her without recreational sports? I can't say for sure, but I am deeply grateful she has the opportunity. Through rec sports, she met friends she later attended school with. Travel sports don't always provide the same chance to build connections within our own community. I understand that the budget decision is not very easy, and I recognize the financial pressures facing our village. However, I ask you to also consider the economic ripple effect of this decision. On Saturday mornings, local restaurants like Coney Island and Becky's are full of families celebrating games over breakfast. Over the years, our family and many others have spent money locally after games, money that will no longer be spent if those games don't exist. This decision affects not only our children, but also our local businesses. Grandparents and relatives coming into town for the games will also not be spending their money at restaurants and shops. Eliminating rec sports also creates a significant equity issue. If recreational programs disappear, many children simply will not play sports at all. Travel sports are expensive and time intensive, and many families cannot afford them or manage the travel requirements, especially for young children. Most high school athletes begin their journey in recreational sports. Without these programs, children may not start playing until middle school if they play ever. That gap disproportionately affects working families and those with limited resources. Youth sports help develop accountability, resilience, leadership, time management, and self-esteem. They foster friendships, promote physical and mental health, and create a sense of belonging. Sports also serve as a powerful platform for inclusion, bringing together children from different backgrounds around shared goals. Even global organizations, including the United Nations, recognize youth recreational sports as a tool for building respect, tolerance, social connection, and community level. Many children will never have the opportunity to play sports unless recreational programs exist. For some families, it's a matter of cost. For others, it's scheduling, transportation, or access to them. Recreational sports level the playing field. They ensure that every child, regardless of background, has a chance to participate, to grow, and to feel supported. As a family, we respectfully ask you to reconsider your decision to eliminate youth recreational sports. Before ending a program that impacts so many children and families, we urge you to explore alternatives, community partnerships, phased adjustments, or broader community input. We are committed to continue to coach, volunteer, cheer these kids on, and support these programs in any way we can. Youth recreational sports are not an expense to be cut. They are an investment in our children, our families, and our community's future. Thank you for your consideration. Emma, 4 years old, she started out soccer, not even leaving my daughter's arms. In this last season, she ran after the ball and kicked it in the net with her friends. This is what your decision will affect. This little one.
Thanks.
They did keep it short.
Just state your name if you want to.
My name is Brian Gress. First, I want to thank you guys all for hearing us, allowing us to have public comment. I want to thank the Parks and Rec Board for the time that we had last year. My wife and I moved here in 2019 after we got married. Fast forward, we now have 3 kids, the ages of 5 and under. And while we attend the River Grazing Festival, Art at Your Feet, Touch Your Truck, Yuletide, and several more events, we also play soccer. We're annual pool members. We attend the library events regularly, and that's why we live here. We could have lived a lot of places, and we chose here because of all of those events. I come from a town not too far from here where none of those things happen. And there's a reason I didn't choose to move back there, because I have a desire for my kids to grow up in a community where we can all be blended together and establish the foundations that you reach. My oldest was 3. We first signed her up for soccer and have coached her through each season since. My middle son is now playing as well, and they both made friends, gained confidence, learned to respect others, contended with hardship, and if I'm honest, they've found a lot of bugs and they're falling down a lot. Going to the U4 games, you know exactly what I'm talking about. My son's coach this year was McKenna. We attend church there, and frankly, we had never talked. Just hadn't crossed paths. Now, because she had the opportunity to coach him and he had the opportunity to be on her team, he is more comfortable at church, going to sports, and being in the community when cross paths. What I hope I'm illustrating is the impact of youth sports in our community. His early years are foundational, and yes, it is foundational to their sports. It's also to forging them as humans and as future adults, giving them this opportunity to face hardship and contend early in those ages, give them the confidence to go. While there is the opportunity for club sports to come in, I think that interrupts the community aspect in seeing local people coaching, having that influence, and being able to meet groups like this and discuss what the future looks like. Now, it seems that the contention here is the viability of the program from a financial standpoint. I've spent some time going to the 25-26 budget, and from what I can see, these programs are projected to be self-sufficient, which is the goal. At least for spring and fall soccer and flag football, all of them post profit based on the budgets that are published online. Adults also appear to meet this metric in the budget, but frankly, I'm focused on youth sports. In addition to this, in the budget, looks like sponsorship does not reflect what we discussed in the Parks and Rec board last week. I believe the number thrown out was around $6,000. In the budget, I'm only seeing 500. So I'm not sure if there's what the difference is there, but sponsorship is a huge area that we can improve in, and there's a lot of room for growth. One thing that was mentioned last week is that while businesses are regularly approached to sponsor, individuals are not. And I think there's an opportunity for individuals to sponsor or to donate to the programs to increase viability if that's marketed and if that's published, that we know that that's the option. Nobody wants to pay more for the registration. When it gets mentioned to increase registration prices, there's going to be pushback. But what is the other option? Because we're going to push back on everything, whether it's 20 cents for gas or over $2 for eggs. People are going to get mad when costs go up. But the other option for us parents that are going to put our kids in sports is travel, is club. When you go there, you get pushed into an annual commitment and you're going to be traveling. All of that is costs that we can't all meet. It's the equity problem that was previously mentioned. So local sports is really the only way to help everybody be able to participate. I think there's a lot of room for cutting costs. Simplify uniforms, coaching shirts can be used year over year. Fundraisers, I haven't seen a lot of fundraisers for commitment for equipment improvements. And organizing volunteers ahead of time to things that would otherwise cost money, such as covering painting the fields and that sort of thing. If registrations have to increase, I do think that's an option, but I would suggest that we implement a sponsor a kid type program so that we can, as individuals, create a fund for kids that can't meet that increased fee. As was frequently mentioned, I'm not going to go in deep on it, but the economic impact to our small businesses would be affected. It's driven by the influx of people on Saturdays. There's a lot of people that go to those fields, and a lot of people that stop at all of our small businesses. And my last point is going to address the volunteers. I know the advisory board has a plan that involves year-round recruitment and the creation of parent-led volunteer groups on Facebook, so we can stay connected and stay up to date on what is needed as a volunteer basis. And I applaud and welcome those efforts. It sounds like there's been kind of a scramble drill as season approaches, and getting volunteers organized ahead of time is going to reduce stress, allow the future coordinator to focus on the tactile aspects of preparing for the season. We have, as parents, we have to know about the
20 seconds, Brian. Okay, sorry to interrupt you.
But I'm just going to end with a call to everyone here, everyone who has kids, everyone who is an empty nester. Step up, volunteer to make these programs work. Because without the volunteers, no amount of money that this village can come up with is going to make this work. So step up, meet the need. Takes a village. It's good for that. That's great.
Right. My name is Sharon Gunter, and basically I have a question for Gwen and Eric. Are you planning on having a celebration down at E-Town this after the meeting today for Brandon's resignation like you did for Holly. Oh, yeah. Nothing. Wondering the celebration was about for Holly.
I don't know what you're implying.
Why I'm asking you, what was the celebration for? Which a resident told me about this, and actually what was said and done at that time. No answer to the question. Fine. No.
I'd like to speak, well, my name's Erica Devontier Kenner. I'd like to speak tonight in favor of the recommendation being brought to council about the Parks and Recreation Coordinator position. Like Brian said, there's going to be some repetition of things that other people are equally as passionate about, which is great. A little bit about me. I grew up on River Drive. My parents still live there. I got married 7 years ago and moved out to the country. I have 2 kids, William, who's 6, and Charlotte, who's 3. Even though I don't live within the village of Blissfield, Blissfield is still my community. I'm often in town, stopping at my parents' house, visiting my brother's office across the street, getting coffee, getting my hair cut at the bungalow, taking William to master clubs at Blissfield Baptist Church, taking Charlotte to ballet classes. And I value spending my time and my money in this community. I value spending my money for Parks and Rec here and investing my time here. My son played U4, U6, and U8 spring and fall soccer for the past couple of years. I've been an assistant coach during those seasons. I paid $75 for him to play last fall, and I enjoyed volunteering my time to help at every practice and game. I can't stress enough the importance of offering local sports choices for families. Having opportunities within our community means more children can afford to participate. Families have less time spent at, or more time spent at home instead of in the car, and more money stays in Blissfield. Without a Parks and Recreation program, if I had to look for other options in Sylvania or Adrian, then my family frequents Starling. So Starling would definitely not get our Saturday morning coffee order. And we also go to Emmy's and Nourish, and we alternate weeks on Saturday mornings. So they would not get our donut order there either. So I would much prefer that my dollars stay here, that we play right here at the middle school. And U8 this year was the first time that we did a little bit of traveling, and that was a nice opportunity to see some other fields and experience that. The connections between families is another part of the Parks and Recreation program that I appreciate. One of my coworkers, she had her sons on my soccer team last fall. A player that I coached on my soccer team in the fall is now on my E3 sports basketball team. Charlotte takes ballet classes at a local church here, and I've met a family whose son is now on my team. So making those connections is awesome, and I love that. It's nice to be able to know the families and siblings of the kids that live in our community and make connections. Looking at the agenda, I did see that you guys had talked about a full-time position, and kind of historically the model hasn't been maybe perfect for what we're looking for, but I agree. The recommendations that were proposed to you guys do take those things into consideration. We're not asking for a full-time person. We're trying to make some modifications to meet some of the things that were stated. During the last council meeting, I found out that when registration closed, there were about 160 kids signed up. Only maybe 40% of the coaches. Some extra funds were used to expedite jerseys getting here. There might have been some last minute scrambling for referees. As a parent and the coach of the U8 team, I had no idea. I loved being out there. My kids didn't know any of that was going on. They loved being out there. They saw 2 dedicated coaches on the field every week. We had referees at our games. We had jerseys. So I would assume maybe a lot of other families didn't know some of that background information, but just knowing that they had a local opportunity to play a sport that they love in our community. And 160-ish families have chosen this too. So I would think that the value of the program should also look at how many people are registering each season? That's a lot of families that this could affect. And I agree, programs should be well run. Scrambling will happen, but should be limited. And getting volunteers is very difficult these days. Spending more time maybe seeking those sponsorship opportunities, making wise decisions with the planning, may be places to look at to make the position more successful. There were some comments about this being a luxury and a want versus a need. And I feel like a luxury would be really having the ability to play in a travel sports team. There's a significant increase in cost, in time, even in the player skill level that's required to play on a travel team. So I really feel like that's what our Parks and Rec youth programs are, an opportunity so that everybody can play, or at least have an opportunity to play locally without those types of things being a deterrent to them or their family. And others have already listed all of the benefits of youth sports. There's so many: physical health, mental health, social skills, life skills, character development. So I'm just asking that you would please approve the recommendation to hire a part-time director. Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
Carl Hardback, just a fast comment, it doesn't take long. I was at the meeting last week with Gwen, Erica, Brian. A very good meeting, a lot of new ideas came up. And so going over it all, I think the presentation tonight will be a very good one. That can, as far as I know, be approved. We have enough to have the soccer, flag football, and cheer. And we came up with other ideas for funding, and if more funding comes in after that, maybe we can add more things to it. The adult program possibly, but for now, this is a good program that you'll hear about. What you probably read about it already, so won't put all the details. But anyway, bottom line, all for it. We need it. This space for the kids, in our town too. So thank you. Thanks, Carl.
Thank you, guys.
Eric May, former Parks and Rec director for 100 years ago. Everyone here has changed except for Mike for when we kind of started the program years ago. I guess one thing I need to ask the council, you guys need to decide, is this going to be a moneymaker, or are we doing this as a service to the village? That's kind of how we approached it years past. I know it's changed a little bit. So that's one thing you guys got to decide. What, you obviously don't want to lose a bunch of money, but this is a service. Everything these guys said is spot on. This is a big benefit to the community. Like you guys were saying, it brings people into the community. We started a travel league with our younger, or our 8 and up kids, only because we didn't have enough kids to fulfill the schedule. And we started that and started a group. And that, I don't know, did that last year? Yeah. And that brings in lots of people from different towns with the aspect of everything that was said about, town building the community, funding, people eating out of restaurants and different things. So I hate to see anything get lost in the Parks and Rec, including adult sports. There's ways of funding. We send out sponsor letters. You get $4,000 to $6,000 a year or more, or less sometimes, just by sending out letters to businesses. And that's part of the sponsorship of the backs of the shirts, the advertising, the different things. So lots of opportunities, I think, to keep it going. I read the recommendation from the Parks and Rec board, 20 hours a week for that less of a schedule. I think it's a lot. I figuring out hours, things from the past. I think 2/3 of those hours would be sitting in the office doing whatever. They suggested the other hours we spend in the office, which is fine. But I don't know with that lesson program, what they would be doing. You know, we would lose, we already lost tackle football. So, the movie nights, lights in the park, we'll see on tap, 3-on-3. Those are big money makers. That brings tons of people in the community. Whether other groups are gonna run that, I don't know. But I think we need to look at keeping adult sports along with youth sports. I mean, definitely youth sports. And look at ways we can save money with it. You said in the past, we've had times where, you know, we were probably over budget. There's times we were under for many years too, but right at where we needed to be. So everything, I'm not gonna repeat everything these guys said because they're all spot on with what I'm saying, but there's many opportunities here. And that perspective of the village is not good right now. You guys know that. It's lots of houses for sale, water. You know, it's, whether it's controlled or not, people are not happy in the village right now. This would be kind of the straw that broke camel's back, I think. So, my opinion. You know, if anyone wants opinions or wants to talk about it, I'm willing to help. So,
Elio, most recent Parks and Rec coordinator, years ago. I don't want to echo what anyone else has says. However, I will try my best to not public shame some people like they would in the village staff. However, I will say things such as scrambling to find refs the day before, the week before, will not go away with this limitation. The most of you that know where I'm at now, we're Savannah Recreation. We have over 100 more programs, 20 more thousand residents. There's 6 programs that open this weekend. We're also scrambling to find refs. It's just the nature of our business. I think it's important that you hear that because of some individuals that are out of touch of what the programs relate to. So you can cut down the programs. I just think when you make a decision, cutting programs or limiting programs is not going to eliminate scrambling for refs or volunteers. It's just not possible. It's just the nature of what we do. I think it is also up to the advisory board to help find volunteers. I also think it is up to the trustee that sits on the board for Parks and Rec to really hear what the words are coming from the coordinator. If there are struggles getting the agenda out, other items, it needs to be viewed and listened and not just kind of thrown over the shoulder. There are many times where things were expressed that were too much of a work management and no changes have been made. So when you make your decision tonight, I obviously would echo everything that everyone has said, but from being in a position for multiple years, just considering all the other items, just because you're eliminating programs is not going to cut back those headaches. Those are still going to be there. There's going to be a presence more from the trustee on the council, on the advisory board, including the village staff and the advisory board as well. I know we've had a lot of changes on the advisory board. That's out of everybody's control. I just want you to think when you make a decision tonight. Obviously listen to what everyone has said today, but also listen to that. Just because you're eliminating these things is not going to take away all the headaches that you're considering. So thank you guys.
Jonathan Harbeck. I've been one of the 10U coaches for the last 3 seasons. And I'm here today because people like, I don't have any kids in the program. I like the sport. I like the kids being out there making new friends and being outside the house. And basically, if we cut this program, all those kids are gonna have nothing to do after school, hanging out with friends. And because the parents break too. That hour a day that those kids are playing on the field, they're getting tired. Parents really want. I've been there. But I just want to make there's people like me out there that will volunteer for this community. I do it for free. And the drives to the game. Like I do that because I love the sport. I love this town. And I also like Blissfield, the community in general. And a lot of people here, obviously we all care about the same thing. You know, we want to keep this program going. Well, that's all I have to say. Thanks.
Hart. I'm here tonight to encourage you to unanimously vote yes for the recommendation by the Parks and Rec Board. I think it's a fabulous idea that they came up with.
I think that it will help a lot, because, when they're off season, they can be organizing for the next season. And I'm not saying, well, making a disparaging remark, I'm just saying the positive effects of being in the office are like for a brand director, just learn the program, ask questions and be able to in the office. And also it will eliminate the office staff doing a lot of the answering of the questions. And I was one of the people who came in and asked questions because I didn't know it was online registration. I was looking for a paper application or registration. So that will eliminate the office staff having to answer Parks and Rec questions. So I'm only interested in moving forward. I'm concerned about the ripple effect this is going to have on the varsity programs, the businesses, and the general good of children if we don't keep it. I'm also concerned about only trying 2 rec directors and then throwing out the whole program. That's not teaching our children to keep trying and to persevere and to find a model that works. You guys had a phrase about it. Well, it hasn't been set up in the test. We'll find out why it hasn't been set up for success and set it up for success. And you talk about alternatives, like parents will go somewhere else. Well, Blissfield rec soccer is the alternative. Lots of communities come here. Adrian has a school-led program. It's not parent-led. Varsity coaches plan and execute all their rec sports for K-5. And Clinton to come see have full-time rec directors. And a lot of them people come here to see our rec program. So we're going to lose. We're going to lose all those people, and they may not go. But I'm encouraging you to just try again. Let's not throw out the baby with the bathwater. Let's try it and see. Thank you.
Scott Ricker. So I spent a lot of years coaching in the rec program, coaching soccer and softball when that was still under rec control. And also watching my kids play in several rec programs and now coaching rec programs themselves and watching other people and our friends and our neighbors play now as we go watch, as we occasionally wait for grandchildren. Also, I'm very involved in middle school sports as a high school teacher, although I don't seem to learn much of that later. But in coaching several middle school sports, I know there's a lot that come from travel that played rec first. Some of them play travel and rec, but there's a lot that go and play travel sports, but there's a lot that don't. And on my team that I have right now, I know it's a basketball program, and we're not talking about that particular sport, but just as an example, there are 9 people on the team, 7 played travel ball. The other 2 came from the Upward program, and that was their basketball. But if that wasn't there, they wouldn't have had another option. They wouldn't have been on a travel team, and they wouldn't have played. And that would have taken my team from 9 to 7, and only 7 participants, which is tough to run basketball with 7 players. Now, while other sports like soccer, you need a lot more people, involved. Not everybody can go and play tournaments every weekend, like travel soccer involves. They can play that one game, but they can't commit 12, 14 hours every weekend for that. And they also don't have the money. So that to fill out that team, it requires that. So what I want you to think about tonight when we're making that, when you're making your decision about, the possibility of canceling the rec program, is not the ones that went and played travel, but that 6th person, that 7th person, that 8th person that didn't get that opportunity because their parents couldn't afford it, they didn't have time available, or just didn't get drafted to a team. but they still want to participate and they still want to be involved. They still want to be a part of something. And we provide, as Blissfield, we provide that opportunity. I would get to see them.
Thanks, Jackie.
I'm Emily Lord. Just to give you a little background, I'm a first grade teacher at Blissfield, and then I coached the youth teams a couple seasons, and then I also just stepped down from the high school girls soccer position. I coached for technically 7 years, but 6 seasons because of COVID. So I feel like I have some similar thoughts on everything. There's a lot of reiterating what everyone else has said, but coming from Blissfield, I also participated in the rec program when I was little. So I feel like I kind of have a different perspective on things, but just to reiterate what everyone else is saying about how it's going to impact the community and businesses, and a lot of my students as well is what I think about. So I'm here tonight, not just as a coach, educator, or organizer, but as someone whose life has been impacted by this Parks and Rec soccer program and who sees that as a great impact in our community. Over the years, I've coached multiple youth teams, refereed games, started a youth soccer camp 7 years ago, one that has become a major contributor to our high school soccer fund and helps support opportunities for student athletes. But the real value of this program goes beyond finances and wins and losses. This youth team are full of kids who develop a genuine love for the game, many of whom would never have the opportunity if this program were cut. Volunteer coaches pour countless hours into making practices engaging, games fun, experiences meaningful. As a result, kids don't just show up, they love coming to practice. They love playing, they love to compete, they love how they can support one another and how to show sportsmanship and care for others. Cutting this program would mean fewer kids spending time with their peers, fewer opportunities to work towards a goal, and fewer chances to experience resilience when things don't go their way. Sports offers something incredibly important, ownership, which is actually one of our core statements for the elementary school. Kids learn that effort matters, that improvement takes time, that setbacks are a part of growth. Kids need more time outside. They need positive role models. They need spaces where they can work hard towards something that's meaningful and they can find a sense of purpose. Eliminating this program reduces those opportunities for our entire community. As an educator in this school, I see firsthand how critical these attributes are and how they are becoming less common at every age. Perseverance, teamwork, resilience, and accountability don't just appear on their own. They are developed, and recreational sports are one of the most powerful places that happens. I also speak from experience. I participated in Blissfield Rec Soccer for many years. Because of this program, I gained a love for the game and a love for competition and a passion for setting goals and improving for myself. I made some of my best friends that I still have to today. That foundation led me to play at Siena Heights in college, which opened doors to some of the best experiences in my life. I truly believe that much of that would not have been possible without rec soccer. At the time, my family could not afford to spend hundreds of dollars to play club team, and the rec program was in budget and easily accessible. I'm sure that is a story for many of the families here as well. I've also coached the high school girls soccer team for the 6 seasons. Despite our winning seasons, we already struggle to find players with significant soccer experience. From some athletes, their only background is a few years in rec soccer. Without this program, that experience and interest in soccer altogether, that will decline even further. Our high school soccer teams are more than competitive programs. They are places where students find lifelong friends and create some of their best memories. At our annual alumni games, former players return to tell us how much they loved being on the team and how meaningful it was to them to help run youth soccer camps for the next generation. These boys and girls programs are growing strong, but they rely on a feeder program. Without rec soccer, maintaining their quality, participation, and success will become increasingly difficult. At a time when soccer in Blissfield is moving in a positive direction, with discussions about starting a middle school team and an enthusiastic group of soccer-loving students coming in the younger grades, cutting this program would be a major step backwards. This isn't just about soccer, it's about community. It's about kids, it's about giving young people a place to grow, connect, and learn lessons that will stay with them long after their youth years. I strongly urge you to consider what it would be if we lost this program and what continues to be gained every time a child steps on the field. Thank you for your time.
Diego from Palmyra. So just going to keep this short. I agree with what everyone said. I really enjoyed, I've coached in the program for the last 3 years for my son Cash as he's come up through the U4 and U6 program. We really enjoyed making friends, watching the kids develop, learning. I personally, through coaching though, I really gained being able to be a better leader and parent through that. So it's even cool, even as a volunteer, to see what you get from this program. So one thing is I always joke, I'm from the other side of the tracks. I grew up in Sand Creek. We didn't spend much time over here in Blissfield just because it was a closer shot, right? Once we started coming out here 3-4 years ago for soccer, we realized how much we love the community, stuff to do in the town. It's a really cool place you guys have here. I don't think our son would go to kindergarten here if we didn't have this program and see what this community has to offer and all the friends and great people. I also think, not knocking anything that's been done in the program before, that no matter what you do, any program like this, you're asking for volunteers, good luck. You're going to have, the best volunteer in the world that somebody doesn't show up the next Saturday and you never see him again. And it's going to be hit and miss. But what are we really doing if we don't try? There's never going to be a perfect solution. But I think it sounds pretty crazy. A place like this doesn't have Parks and Rec, soccer, and different programs like that. So appreciate you guys. Thanks for listening to us. And have a good night.
Thanks, Trevor. My name is Kelly Sharpie. I'm the incoming varsity girls soccer coach. I've coached alongside Emily for the last 5 years, and I've learned a whole lot from her. And he's absolutely right about it being a feeder program for our sports in high school. And so I won't go into that. I think that's pretty obvious that that helps sustain high school sports, whether it's soccer or something else. So this conversation isn't really about sports. It's about who we are and how we care for the future of our community. Youth recreation programs are often the first place kids learn what it means to belong, to commit, to work as a team, and to represent something bigger than themselves. These early experiences shape not only athletes, but future students, volunteers, leaders, and neighbors. When the village remains invested, it communicates stability, care, and a belief that our young people matter. Choosing to dismantle the future of youth sports over a difference of funds that could be creatively come up with otherwise is not a financial decision. It's a values decision about what kind of community we want to be. Rec sports are not a luxury. They are a baseline. They are bare minimum. Stepping away from youth sports may appear to offer short-term financial relief, but history shows that once programs are paused or dismantled, participation drops quickly and families find alternatives elsewhere if they're able. When that happens, restarting a program later becomes significantly more expensive, requiring renewed marketing, rebuilding trust, replacing lost equipment, establishing systems, and often offering incentives just to regain participation. What is saved today is often outweighed by the greater cost of restoration tomorrow. Youth sports also strengthens the fabric of the village itself. Parks and rec fields become gathering places where families connect, relationships grow, and community pride takes root. Game days bring people together, players, parents, grandparents, and neighbors, many of whom support these local businesses, like everyone has already said. Blissfield Royals, no matter their age, whether they are on the field or cheering from the sidelines, are stronger when we invest in what's ahead. Investing in youth recreation is not just about maintaining a program, it's about protecting a root system, preserving community identity, and ensuring future generations have opportunities to grow right here at home. When we choose to think future forward and share responsibility, we honor the truth that strong communities don't happen by accident. They are built together. So I just want to leave you with a question to consider. You've heard about all the things that this community and the families and kids will lose if you choose to vote no tonight. But I just want to know, what do you gain? How would that choice benefit Blissfield at all? Thank you.
Brandon, I'm Monic. I'm a village resident and a small business owner here in Blissfield. I'm gonna leave it short and sweet. Everyone that's been up here tonight has said it perfectly on what it's about, what this does for our youth and to grow. And just one thing I'll ask is, or say, is my business isn't always profitable every month. Doesn't mean I just close the doors and close up shop. Sometimes I actually see my business here a public service to the community to have an ice cream shop in Blissfield after it's closed for many years. So we have to think about that. It's not always about the dollars and cents. There's more to it than that. Yes, I know we have to be fiscally responsible. There has to be, a place to pay for it. But I also think, showing her that you just get rid of something is not the answer. There's a lot more pros than cons when it comes to it. And I feel that as individuals, community members, we can find a way, if there's a shortfall funds to come up with it, to keep it going. Thank you.
What else before we move on?
I didn't want to cut any of the residents off that came tonight to speak, but I did want to share, I had several emails that were received. Do you want me to read them in full, or do you want me to summarize them? Because I do have several, they're all in favor of Parks and Recreation programs. I'll just summarize. If you want me to do more, tell me. Olivia Spanski, I'm probably hacking that. I apologize, Olivia. Did email just saying that she is in favor of keeping the programs. She has a 7th grader and a 4-year-old. They participate in soccer and it's been important to them. Sarah Pelham Etheridge also emailed saying that she's writing to express her love and support of the programs. Both of her sons have played soccer and she would like to see the programs continue. Tori Minders emailed saying that she could not make it tonight, but she thinks that the Parks and Recreation is important for her community and her kids absolutely love the programs. Pam emailed, but is also in attendance and spoke. So I think you guys did get her. So I'm not sure the rest copy of you. Samantha Strine did send an email as well that she is in favor of keeping them. She's born and raised here and her boys play soccer. And then she went on to say some additional things as well, just all again in favor of it. Chelsea Hilgas emailed saying that she's lived here for 26 years and growing up with this program was important to her. She is in support of keeping them. It helps with friendship, teamwork, etc. Jack Cook said that this is one of the things that makes Blissfield a great place to live. And we could look for other ways to cut, but we should keep Parks and Rec. Brandon maybe sent quite a few kind of facts and information, but is in favor of keeping the Parks and Rec programs. And then Jennifer Abbott also said that she is in favor of keeping them and that she hopes that the council hears the voices of the residents. And I can share these with you all as well if you want to read them in more detail, but they all say very similar things to what has been shared.
Yeah.
All right, Vice Chair, third, speak. Okay. All right, we will move on then. Unfinished business, we do have discussion from CFS regarding the water. Got Brian here now. Obviously, you met with Ryan. Brian, welcome after you met with us.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, Brian Turborg and I have Brad Gaiman also here with me from ZFS Riga. And here just to follow up from our discussion that we had 2 weeks ago about the request we had to basically clean up language from 21 years ago to have clarity between technically Riga and Blissfield related to water and service to the ethanol plant. So I think maybe coming into the meeting we had last time, there was maybe some misunderstanding, not really realizing what we were asking to clarify. Hopefully that's clear now. Otherwise, I can go through a little bit and also finish answering any questions about it. But it goes back to around 1997, I believe, language between Blissfield and Riga related to the right to serve a plant with processed water and wastewater services. And we didn't realize it even existed until last fall. And it sounds like most of us didn't really realize it was there. So when we noticed it, we just wanted to make sure formally that we're all on the same page, where I think over the past 6 to 9 months, there's been discussions of other creative ways that we're working on to have industrial processed water for the plant, not potable water, to have as part of the plan to be able to restart the plant and gain all the benefits for the community, including the 45 to 50 jobs and the impact on the farm, for price of corn and so on. And so water and wastewater costs are a big challenge, like we talked about a little bit a couple weeks ago. So the request is just that we know we're all on the same page and it's okay for us to work on getting processed water ourselves if there's a way to do that. So that's really, I think, the big picture on it. It's not, we don't see the request as something that's gonna cost Blissfield anything or be a burden. It's just confirming that it's okay for us to work on other ways to get the water and discharge capabilities for the plant. So Brad, I don't know if you have anything else to add. Brad is a plant manager and right at the plant for 17 years
Since it started,
Okay.
before it started.
Yeah, so don't want to make it more complicated than it is. It's just to clarify that language, that the way it was left, we met with Riga 2 weeks ago, right after here. They're fully supportive of the plant, and so they are working on some language to basically correct or verify the 27-year-old language. They're working on that right now. Hopefully, after they're done, then have it looked at over here, be considered. Yeah, Brad, if you have something else to say.
No, just that, the plant since started has been a good operating plant. And issues of the ups and downs that we've had and the sales that we've had. And most always come back to utility costs and articles. And if we could get past this.
Can you speak up a little bit?
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Podium. Thank you.
Saying that we have been a good running plant since startup, all over. But the turnover and the downtime has a lot of times come back to margins based on other plant parameters in the industry. And we can get this utility thing settled. We can become a long-term, continuously running good asset to business and community like we work in people running.
And the utilities being the water and sewer.
And also, I mean, there's electric and there's different things, but that's the major one. Yes. I think we can get this off, we can get this running. It's a good plan. We can be there for a long time. Thank you.
So Brian, I guess a lot of the questions that come, or some of the questions council members had previously was, whose decision is it? It's of us, of Riga, et cetera. I guess, what kind of feedback did you get from Riga on, are they willing to accept you looking for alternate water sources? Are they on board? I guess, what is, I think your question, Ken, and
Yes.
it doesn't want to allow them to see alternate sources over.
Well, it was basically who has the responsibility to do whatever. Do we have something to say over Riga or not? And that was kind of my thing, and also why you would ask us to amend, well, not to amend, but for us to sign up to make an agreement with you without Riga's input is also part of it. But I did reread, I went back and reread the portion that you're having questions about, that you're trying to, when you say clean up the language. And I totally understand your perspective on that. Why you're perceiving that it could be read another way. So I'm willing to wait and let's let Riga do what they want to do, and then we can decide what we want to do. But again, from my perspective, I don't see that you can still do whatever it is that you want to do. If the wording in there is not making a reference to, it's either our water or no water. Our reference to that, my understanding is that it is has to do with can't have two hookups. You can't have us hooked up to your system and then bring in another water source. And in addition to, if the water and the sewer need to be connected together, it's not either or. But both is how I was reading all of that. So I still am under my same thought that you get to operate as you wish to operate.
which includes finding another water source, because you're currently not hooked up to ours, so.
Yeah.
Is that fair? Is
Sure,
that-
yeah.
Seeing that, okay, but
Yeah.
I do understand why you brought it up in the first place.
Yeah, so I think it was, we just saw a direct reference to the ethanol plant in the old agreement, so that was the first thought, just to be direct and open about it, but the formality and the technicality makes sense now, how it's really a clarification between Blissfield and Riga. And I believe that Riga has communicated some to Danielle, and my impression from my communication with them is that they are very supportive of the plant restarting, including being okay with us finding other creative ways to do the process water and discharge water. That they are supportive of that. So they are working on a specific language just to clarify it in writing between you and them. So that is my understanding that they are supportive of this. So it can be kind of changed where it's not really ZFS being a part of what you would sign. It's just clarification that Riga is one with the jurisdictional control. Like it's kind of the way to look at that.
And I can confirm that Natalie with Riga has emailed me. So I did follow up with her after our last meeting, and she did respond that they had sent some information over to their attorney and they were working on it. She did email again today, said that their attorney is still working on things. And once they have some amended language for the contract between Riga and Blissfield, they'll send that over for our review. And then they will work with CFS directly, with CFS being Riga's customer. So I'm just waiting for that information. So there would be there's no action tonight at all, but it's just really us clarifying and sharing additional information in preparation for that amendment coming before you guys.
But also the clarification, we as Blissfield, you recognize that Brian, I feel like maybe it's a silly question, comment, that you realize that Blissfield wants you as well. You understand that. So when you're saying that it's a Riga thing, it's we want you, but we've got to come to the table with the utility work that you were just talking about as well. Does that make sense? I guess from what I'm hearing, let me restate, from what you had said earlier, it could be implied or thought of as that Blissfield is not wanting to work with ZFS. On the contrary, we do want to work with you, and you recognize that.
Yes.
Because as we hear things, as things rumble through our community, that Blissfield does not want to work with you, that is an inaccurate statement. An accurate statement is that Blissfield Council does want to work with you. Would you agree with that?
Yes, thank you.
I want that on record. Thank you. I just think it's really important because rumbling forward, so you don't want them, and that is not true at all. And just want to verify that with you on record. Thank you.
Yeah, well, that was the purpose of being here tonight is like Danielle said, we don't have any language, but just to have communication to talk and make sure that we understood each other and what we're trying to do and the reasons and what's happened. So if there's other questions that you have on anything, Brad and I can answer those too. I know we have a big agenda tonight and some other very important topics, but is there any other questions from before? There was, when we were done last time, it seemed like there was possibly some more open questions, but hopefully they've been figured out.
No, nothing. Well, some of it was the non-terminating issue. I think question that some council members had regarding, is it setting future councils and future plan management up for, if there were some sort of other option, again, to hook back up into the village water, the Riga water, however you want to word it. So again, I don't think we're at that point. I think what we're trying to do right now is talk about the next 12 to 24 months. What is it going to take to get you guys up and running and producing? So again, like I said before, either they're a grain elevator or even something less. So because we've already spent numerous hours in meetings, et cetera, trying to figure out a water solution for them, it doesn't make sense feasibly, economically, financially for us or for you. So again, there's a lot of questions, but I think they can be answered. If you guys found your own water source to run through the plant, yes, we don't accept secondary water sources back into our sewer. But again, you working with Eagle, et cetera, it sounds like what you would want to do is just draw from a well or whatever from the river and send it right back, not send it through to us. We would still have the tie-in to Riga, we would still have the tie-in for the lab, for water or sewer, et cetera, at a much smaller scale. But again, I think these are pretty easily answered questions. But again, this is more just a general, are we gonna work with them or are we gonna say, no, we're gonna hold our feet to the fire and you have to tie into the water system? Because that's what it boils down to. And that is the question of, do they become operating ethanol plant or are they something much less? We'll get the spin off. Hopefully the CO2 plant would open. Hopefully we get, again, the jobs, people coming, shopping, eating, et cetera, through town, the railroad traffic, et cetera. So again, we need to look at the big picture of it all. What do we got to do to work with these guys to get them operating?
Yeah, that's a good point. The plant is connected to the Vegas municipal system that's indirectly served from Blissfield for the lab offices and some of the warehouse. So that is all connected today. And yes, what we wanted to make sure that this is all okay and have the communication with everybody as we're continuing to work on other alternatives. But before we get further along with them, we want to make sure we're able to use them if there's things that turn out. And we're looking at 2 alternatives, and depending on how that goes, there's a potential for it to benefit everybody if that works out. But that is not to be seen yet, but the potential there.
Well, we'll expect to hear back from you, from Riga. We'll try to move forward, Brian.
Okay.
I'll say anything. I'm good.
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you.
Any other questions or that's good?
Thank you. I appreciate your time.
Thanks. Thank you, Brian. So if no action there, we'll move on to discussion. Parks and Rec program coordinator position posted.
Move to approve the recommendation of the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board. Hire a part-time Parks and Recreation Director at 20 hours per week. Limit programming to youth soccer, flag football, and cheer for an initial 1-year evaluation period. And authorize administration to utilize fee adjustments, sponsorships, and general fund support as necessary to sustain the position.
I'll support.
A motion, Tim, second Sherry, to approve the recommendation of the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board to hire a part-time Parks and Rec Director, 20 hours per week, limit programming to youth soccer, flag football, and cheer for an initial 1-year evaluation period. And authorize administration to utilize fee adjustments, sponsorships, and general fund support as necessary to sustain the position. Discussion.
I'll let you guys know first. I know I have lots to say.
Yeah.
I will, depending on what you guys will think as the trustee that is on the recreation.
I just want to say thank you, everybody, for coming out and expressing your feelings. I know I played baseball back when I was 14. That was back in the 1900s. I think she went doing it then. So thank you for being passionate and got my yes vote. So
I also want to thank you all for coming in and speaking. I'm a transplant here to Blissfield. My husband is not. Our children, all 3 of them were in rec sports at a younger age and continued through middle school and high school. And it does benefit the kids to be in youth sports because not all families can afford travel teams. They're expensive because they did travel teams as well. So I get that and thank you for coming in. And yes, the passionate part of it is great. Appreciate it.
The only thing I can say, I do appreciate everybody that did come tonight and spoke in favor of the Parks and Rec program. Just, I would like to see that person move into adding more programs back into it. The movies on Lane or the park, which we're gonna have them. The beer on tap and the other items and programs that we've had through Parks and Rec. I think that's important to our community as well.
I agree.
So I don't know how that could be incorporated in.
I don't believe that it was ever the intent to cut those,
Right.
those events or activities. We were specifically focusing on the programs. So what is being cut would be the adult indoor volleyball and the outdoor adult softball. We had already previously cut the tackle football program. So it'd be those two programs, and we would continue doing the Parks and Recreation Board volunteers, and they do some of those one-day events, or we have a subcommittee established for Blissfield on Tap. So those are included. We were just trying to solely focus on this position and what they do.
So would that director be more involved with those other programs as well? Here on tap,
I really think that that would be ideal. I think we want to say that I think our proposal is that we really focus in on those and we see what it's going to take and how we can help them and get them set up. And then after that year, be able to evaluate and say, okay, what do we have the time to add or look at and to help with, to make sure that whoever takes this role is really set up to succeed and to be able to push these programs forward. So I think we're being probably a little bit too cautious initially, but again, our goal is to make sure that person is, it's good to go. They feel comfortable. They have enough time to do everything properly that they need to, and move forward.
Want to echo there. I appreciate you guys coming out. I know public speaking is difficult, so you have to do a good job. I share your opinions. I think bringing grandpas and uncles and family members to town and getting them out, stores and restaurants and stuff, it is good for the community. It strengthens the community. So thank you for coming out.
And I would echo everyone else as well. Thanks for doing this. Thanks for coming out. I would like to maybe just do a point of clarification, is that consideration to eliminate position is not necessarily the same thing as eliminating all of the programs. You do not need government to run all of the things that are beneficial to a community. I know that it can help sometimes, but it wasn't started this way. Flag football did not begin in Parks and Rec. It started with one person because her son wanted to play football. And so we were going to take him to Onstead. And Onstead said, why don't you guys start a flag football program in your community? Here's how we did it. And we still have it. It's moved over to Parks and Rec. It's been taken over by other people and it's been run. It's been great. It truly has been a feeder program because it started before we went to the Dome. It really helped, I think, in our football program in those earlier years. And this is a great place to live. This will be my 50th year that I've been in Blissfield. And I have had lifelong friends and acquaintances and met a lot of people. I told Mrs. Burke, for those of you that remember Mrs. Burke, Blissfield is a great place to grow up, and I wouldn't want to live here. And I tried to get out of Blissfield. I know people are, why are you saying this now? It seems good to say. This is a great place to grow up and to live here. We've raised our children here as well. And thank you. Continuing to volunteer. I know that it is hard, especially when you have kids. It's hard because you're multiplying your schedules and your time and you're diminishing your resources to do so. But thank you. Thank you very much for all that you have done. Really appreciate it. Because of the people before you that were our coaches, that were our mentors, that were our little heroes here in town. And so thank you. I'll echo what everybody else said. And again, I do appreciate everybody being here, obviously passionate, and it is tough to speak, in front of the crowd, things like that. So again, I appreciate you being here. Continuing with what Ken said, I don't think that just because the proposal of the coordinator going away meant that technically the programming was going to go away. I think all of us up here in council do understand how important recreation, health-wise, et cetera, is important to a community, not only for the health benefits, but just, again, much like we've all stated, community building, family building, et cetera. I see it much like the Yuletide back a few years ago. We almost lost Yuletide downtown with the DDA because nobody wanted to participate, nobody wanted to volunteer, nobody wanted to contribute. Until we really started talking about that as a board and saying, well, there's not going to be Yuletide. magically people came up angry and started to say, you know, this can't go away. What did they do? They put their money, their time where the mouth was, and they stepped up and they made that very successful. So again, I don't think council's intent was to just nix this and make it go away. Yes, we do want to do this. We want to do these programs well. We want to be successful. We want to provide them to our community. We also, again, have more than 2 rec directors. We probably had 4 or 5 since I've been on council. So it has been something that has been a challenge. And yes, I wish we could afford a full-time director. We probably all do, but we know that just can't happen financially. What it boils down to is, you know, people like you that are here that are passionate, you need to speak with the other family members, the parents, your friends, and we need the volunteerism. We need people to dedicate the time. You know, we do spend a lot of money from our general fund to offset a lot of these, to pay for a lot of these Parks and Rec programs. The pool, for one, is huge expense, the general fund with transfers. We have DPW that's out there striping fields. We have a lot of our office staff that is collecting the fees, setting up the schedules and that sort of thing. So yes, we need a program coordinator that could spend more time, would definitely be a benefit. It would take a lot of the functions and the roles off of our other staff. But again, you know, these things do come at a cost. And yes, so we need to go out there and you need to recruit sponsors. We need to, you know, accept donations. You need to donate your time if we want it to be really successful. Other than that, you know, my only question is, why would we pay a director for more hours and yet take away some of these programs? Yes, it's important for our youth, but the adult opportunities are just important in my mind. I hate to see us remove a lot of the adult programs as well. Yeah, you know, I couldn't hit the broadside of a barn with a blooper ball. I'm out of shape, a little overweight, technically obese, but my point is, again, I hate to say we're going to shuffle to almost double what we contributed in the past for less programming. That's a little bit of heartburn for me. So again, we do want to set this position up for success, but again, the volunteers are needed, donors needed, sponsorships are needed, etc., in order for it to be a successful program.
I would never think if he was obese, Mike.
Might be poorly.
Well, I'm going to echo what everyone else has said up here, you guys. Thank you so much. We have had other issues in our village where residents have come out to speak and they have not been as eloquent and as polite and respectful as you folks have been. And from this side of the stage, I appreciate that, and I know council appreciates that. We had a very productive meeting last week. Brian, you were there. It was so nice to get a chance to meet with you. Erica, you were there. Carl, you were there, as well as our advisory board. Danielle was there via Zoom. She was in training at Traverse. Very productive meeting. We have a very passionate advisory board. They know what they want. Very helpful in organizing and working through this recommendation that has been made. A couple of things I just want to address. Eric, when you stated, Eric May specifically, the service versus a moneymaker, I think that was very well said. For my opinion, I think that we, as a group in this room, understand that totally. Going back here to the individualized scholarship program, that was something that was addressed in our meeting last week. Thought that was fabulous. Carl, you spoke about it. Brian, you spoke about it as you did tonight. Thank you. That is something I want council to know that we will be discussing as we go forward. Thought that was a fabulous idea. Couple other comments here. Pam, you had stated moving forward. I think that that's an excellent idea as we move forward. And we know where we've made some mistakes. And I really believe that this plan is going to take us into the next section of the next, learn from our mistakes is what I'm trying to state. Kelly, you had talked about the values decision. I like that. I think that was great verbiage. I teach. I get it. I'm wholly with the youth program, et cetera, go with that. So I just appreciate that. Couple things here with the recommendation. Just wanted to reiterate, I think that we're going in the right direction there. The advisory board felt very strongly that we were going in that right direction. We recognize that there's going to be room for improvement, meaning that there will be an evaluation. Danielle and I have talked about it. The advisory board talks about it. that we will evaluate and see where things are. If things can go in a really good direction where this new person would come on board, learn the position, learn it very well, having the in-house time as well as having some out of house time, meaning coming here in the office to work. I think that's great. We've got ideas. Several were discussed last week as well during that advisory board. I had one of our best advisory board meetings, Danielle, would you agree? It was very, very productive. Things of how we can go ahead, Mike, you just alluded to the cost of like the DPW coming on. I think that the advisory board and from some of our discussions, we learned the value of that we can have more volunteers with their input on that. And I think that we'll be very successful. The sponsorship program, we talked about that last week as well. And Brian, that was something else you had alluded to. We can be working on that, I think, a little more diligently, and then having our advisory board come on board with that as well, not just a 1 or 2 person kind of a thing. I think there's so many ways that we can be successful on this, is what I've surmised. I'm trying to summarize is what I'm sharing. My only comment, Danielle, would be that on our recommendation, I would prefer that the word director be changed to coordinator. And I think that was a typo you and I had talked about. I think the coordinator lends itself to a better description of what the person would be doing. Tends to be more of a day-to-day, hands-on type of an activity versus that word director. And that's what I think that you had stated earlier.
Yeah, the job description is a Parks and Recreation Program Coordinator is the official title. And that's what we will proceed with.
So again, audience, thank you. I know a number of you, the letters too. Thank you so much. That was something we talked about at advisory board. The passion, council needs to hear it, and council has heard it. Thank you so much.
Well, with that, Tim, Sherry, okay with a friendly amendment to change that to coordinate.
I am.
Yes.
Thanks.
Again, like I said, I'll support it in order to move forward. Obviously, the community thinks it's important. I still would like to see the adult programming somehow come back to flourish as well. Anything further from council? Not to at least call roll.
Ken,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Gwen.
Yeah.
Thank you. Eric,
Yes.
Sherry.
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Yay.
Moving on, we have new business in front of us. First,
Now you don't have to leave. Thanks for coming, you guys. Thank you.
first up, council has a consideration for a Little Free Sled Library. We've got some Girl Scouts here. Apparently they didn't want to divulge too much information, like there be a surprise.
No, as a matter of fact, they are so good at not divulging that they were actually unable to attend. So I apologize for that miscommunication. They have been working very diligently on their Little Free Sled Library project, and they hope that you will be willing to listen to them in the future. Our apologies on the miscommunication, but we're not prepared for this.
That's partially me too. So I did reach out to confirm they could come and I didn't hear back and I was nervous, so I just left it on there. So we'll get a reschedule.
All right, moving on, employee appreciation policy, Danielle.
The policy is included within the agenda for you guys. It's fairly basic, but I'm just asking council to approve this moving forward so that we can implement it. What I would like to do is, when the employees do things that can be recognized by council, that the residents let us know, or their coworkers that fall within our organizational values, that they can get entered into a monthly drawing to win just fun prizes. So we'll have like an extra hour of PTO or a $25 gift card to Olive Garden or a gas card. And just a little bit of a way for us to just show our appreciation for all of the great things that they do and make sure that we are recognizing and seeing all that they do. If you have questions about it, let me know.
I don't have a question about it, Danielle, but I do have just a note here. Long story short, I won't go into all of the details. But I know at school, they've done something very similar to this. And ideally, it sounded wonderful. On the back end, it did not go so great, just something to keep in mind. I don't know how to say this, except when people were not, given an award, people should be recognized for what they do and do well. And if someone's not recognized, perhaps they need to wonder why they're not recognized. Instead, some of the people went ahead and had their feelings hurt. And that was the only thing I wanted to address, that unintentionally, some employees could feel like they've been overlooked. That's my only comment on that. Although in my world, then that means step it up.
We did talk about that in staff a little bit. The comment was.
I was saying, you talked to staff about this and how did they feel about it?
Yeah. There was a comment made that maybe some people would not be entered into the drawing. And I think that we talked about that as supervisors, it's our job to make sure that we recognize when they're doing things and that it's okay for them to say, hey, did you see this? Or if they're not being entered, that maybe they need to self-reflect a little bit. But I do believe that we have really good employees who will all be entered, maybe not as frequently as others, but I do think they're doing good things. So we can always change this program. It's not set in stone, but I would like us to see us move forward and try to do something. Because just doing nothing, I don't think it's okay either. But I do appreciate that feedback.
I kind of did discuss this. I was hoping that you had thought to change. Thank you.
So the monthly drawing comes down to a random pick of those suggestions.
Correct. So everybody will be, anybody that gets nominated will go to the drawing and they'll actually remain in that drawing for the full calendar year. And then it'll just be we'll randomly pick a name out and that's who will get the prize that month. But I will be sharing those, even if they're not drawn, I'm gonna share those successes and make sure that we kind of point them up as well too. I don't know, I still have to work out exactly how that'll look, but you guys will hear about all of the good things.
Move to approve the employee appreciation policy as presented.
I'll support it.
Motion Bell, a second here to approve the employee appreciation policy as presented. Further discussion.
Wish my dad had one of these policies when I was growing up. He didn't seem to recognize when I did the right thing. That's when I was having a lot of fun and didn't make it home on time. But thanks to your patience.
Okay, all steps we can do around. So, okay, go ahead. Good. Okay, please call roll.
Sherry,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Gwen,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Bill, Mike,
Carried. Number 3, the subcommittee, the water and sewer information.
I move to establish a council subcommittee to work with staff on the development of water and sewer infographic and information materials, with the following being appointed to the subcommittee.
Support.
And essentially, you guys, I'm the trustee that asked about it. Okay, it was so when Danielle states that council member asked about it, I am that council member. And this comes from just simply discussion with different members on our council, as well as talking with obviously our residents. I know specifically when Sherry and I were talking, we see all the information that's there, but it needs to be in like our language, not just other language that I think our residents and myself included need to understand. So what I'm hoping is that with a subcommittee, we could maybe take some of that, the language and the understanding that, Nora can explain what goes on there at the water treatment plant and Steve at the wastewater treatment plant, but to put all that into layman's terms is what I'm kind of hoping to do. And I'd like to kind of get a little historical perspective, because I think that the historical perspective is very, very important to why we are where we are. Mike, obviously more of the historical perspective as being on council for this length of time. I have maybe a little bit more than anyone on here, but it still can be very challenging to explain to our residents, as we all know, of how we got here, where we are, and where we plan to go.
And a lot of verbiage.
Yeah, yeah.
We could make it simpler.
That's what I was hoping to do. So that's why I'm asking for a subcommittee to see if we can try. I'm not gonna say it will be perfect, but I'd like us to try. Obviously, we would go ahead and work on it and come back to council for our, blessing. And then maybe have us have the opportunity to go forward, whether it's in the newspaper, website, et cetera, et cetera. But that's kind of what I was looking to do. So that if anybody has any questions, that I'll try to address them.
What you saying with me today?
I'd like to sign the committee today if that's cool with you guys.
And the functions, yeah.
Okay, then let's.
Yeah.
Are you guys up to doing this up late today, or would you rather wait?
Yeah.
I'm up to doing something then. We can have done that.
Okay.
I would very much like to be on that subcommittee. Anybody else want to join?
Yes. Will do.
Yeah, my apologies. Thanks, time. Thank you.
So Ken and I spoke before the meeting about these subcommittees. I would like to switch for Ken. Kind of still in some reason. I would like to be on the South Committee. You're gonna go on the Water Committee.
Yes. We'll take care of that in the council discussion. That's all right.
So, and
I'm on the wall, I'll do this
great.
subcommittee.
Sherry, I'm gonna try to tweak down there as well, just simply because we had a discussion tonight. Yep, beautiful. Thank you. I'm very good with 3 people unless somebody else should want to join us. Oh, my apologies. Then there it is. Thank you.
Right, I do. Everything that I can, we get it.
Yeah.
23, we can just
We do.
try historical.
Yeah. I think between you, Danielle, and we'll just go ahead and get something started, and then we can go ahead and tweak it as we go. We know what the first round is going to be. Perfect. We recognize that. Okay. So would you like me to go ahead and make a friendly amendment on it, or redo the whole motion? Okay. So Lisa, I would like to go ahead on to the part where it says, the friendly amendment with the following being appointed to the subcommittee. That subcommittee would be, Sherry Luce, Ken Nichols, and Wendy Newsom. And who did the second? Oh, that's it.
Yes, that's. Amended motion to establish a council subcommittee to work with staff on the development of water and sewer infographic and information materials. Following the appointed committee, Jerry Lewis, Ken Nichols, and Wendy Newsom. Anything further? I'd like it again, try to be transparent. I do have a letter to the editor in tomorrow's paper, hopefully it'll print with regard to a lot of the water. It's a bad, so it can be some history, so.
Okay.
I think more than one for guys on that as well. But yeah, we gotta get people to understand why we're at where we're at. Okay. Anything further from council? Please call roll.
Tim,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Sherry,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Gwen,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes. Carried. Moving on. We have engineering task order. Ask Danielle, I'll turn it over to you.
I'm actually gonna turn it over to Aaron.
Aaron. Hi. How are you?
So this is the of the project scope that we had for the river rate stabilization, we call it phase 3. This is to continue the project and start to prepare construction design documents. You'll remember in our presentation that we had said that some of the grant funding that we would need to go after would need at least 30 to 50% design, some of them would be complete design plans. So this should help us get in line with that. And also we are including the Eagle Section 106 teeny species permitting for all of the areas and the joint permit application. So at the end of this project, the goal would be for all the green solutions to have construction plans. And permitting and be able to hit the ground shovel ready with some minor modifications if needed, depending on how long it takes to get the bank money. I did want to say it's not in the proposal very clear, but it's not for the gray. The gray is wall structural geotech. There's a lot that goes into that. This is for the green solution. So I just wanted to make sure that that was clear, so that we're not designing, $4 million of wall. So that would be much heavier. I think when this was originally proposed, we were planning a structure type of project. So I just wanted to make that clear. This thing being tall. It's just
Danielle, further you want to add?
No, well, yes, I guess a little bit. This item and the next agenda item are kind of related, so. We have spent quite a bit of money moving forward on the erosion. I think we've made some really good progress. Brandon's presentation, I was in love with it. It was a little bit lengthy, but I nerded out with him for a little bit there. I thought it was really good information for us. We've been having a lot of conversation with different agencies. Grant funding right now is really hard to come by, just the political environment that we're in. So they're like Homeland Security grants are on hold right now. But there are some opportunities and I don't want to miss those. So I think it's really important for us to get to that design portion. It's like Aaron said, for us to apply or qualify for that, we're going to have some of those components prepared and ready in order to apply. And those turnarounds are usually fairly short, so it's a quick turnaround. So this will kind of make us ready to go, ready to submit those proposals. So hopefully get some help with funding. Or if we choose to maybe pick some of that low hanging fruit that's a little bit more affordable for us within our budget, then we're prepared to do that as well.
Daniel, where was the erosion? I know we just talked about it last week. Where was it in our goals? Was it a priority 1, 2?
I want to say it was a 2. I can.
So we just discussed the erosion last week with our goals.
Yeah. I pulled up in just a second.
Well, they're looking for that gradation. Is any of the green areas that get taken care of, can that potentially lessen some of the more higher priority areas that are more potentially detrimental? Is that not a fair question?
Does it help? You mean?
Does it help?
Yeah. I think in general, yes, and we can look at that while we design it to make sure that that's taken into account. I think anytime, and one of the things you have to take care of when you're doing this is if you armor one side, now the water wants to go somewhere else. So you want to make sure that you're not doing that. That's part of the hydraulic model that we're doing to model what we're going to do to make sure it doesn't create effects downstream for other areas. So I would say we can, when we're doing the design, we're going to design all of the reaches, but we'll keep in mind, if there's a priority of which one we should first that would help quicker, then we want to keep that in mind.
Or not hinder
Or
something
or not
further.
make some, yeah.
They don't accelerate something.
Right, just because something, right, just because something is more, I don't want to say cheap, but less costly. You might want to do that year 2 or 3, project 2 or 3, because there's a reason, that might be okay, but it'll be gone before we didn't move something upstream. So that's why we did the whole model, the whole reach. So we have all of that and we should be able to determine we should be able to determine hydraulically if that'll have an effect downstream or upstream.
Thanks.
Yeah.
It is a one.
That's why
Yes.
the village is showing again.
Yeah. And we did budget for this as well, which I did put in the packet. So we had $110,000 within that line, but keep in mind, a portion of that was carried forward from last year because we had previously approved through task 7. So this is right on budget with what we had anticipated.
I would move to approve the engineering task order for the remaining tasks of the river raising project including construction documents, agency coordination, and Michigan Eagle permitting in an amount not to exceed $98,500.
I'll support.
Motion Gwen and a second Sherry to approve the engineering task order for the remaining tasks of the river erosion project, including construction documents, agency coordination, and Michigan Eagle permitting in an amount not to exceed $98,500. Further discussion. I do like that we got this in the next agenda, kind of hand in hand. So Aaron, I guess, yeah, say we were able to remove that dam. That's obviously gonna lower the levels all the way, beyond that. So is the cart before the horse on this sort of designing, this engineering to say, well, if that dam goes away,
Yeah,
yes, the river heights are a lot lower and
right.
We're engineering something for today versus what would be.
I'd say yes and no. I know part of the grant that we talked about, they said if it coincides with construction, it's actually more likely to get approved, like they want, right? Is that, yeah, so part of the grant was they look at, is it just a study or is it a study and construction? So if it's a study and construction or just construction, you're more likely to get money. So part of this next step is hydraulically will include the modeling for the dams to see if that, what impacts that might have. I'm sure there's still going to be, it's not like it's just going to go away. There'll still be issues. So I would envision just an update to the model and making sure that, maybe it gets rid of one or two reaches, but I don't anticipate us getting through all the design so that quickly where we would be off and, or we would be designing something we didn't need to. And I can always pull that. So part of what's already started is we started what's called sheets. This is getting me way in, so I apologize. It's called sheet setup. So there's construction documentation where you give the contractor what they're going to do. So you have to set that up. So we know where the projects are going to be. We have a survey for everything. So we're starting to just set that up to be ready to design it. And so that's really where we're at. And then, I talked to Brandon. He said, that once we get the blessing moving forward, it's going to be a pretty easy lift to go after this grant. And so we should probably hear back. I don't know, wasn't it a pretty quick turnaround? I thought. So once we hear back from that, we're gonna focus on making sure the model is up to date, and then we're gonna start identifying the green areas that we're gonna do. I think we had mentioned maybe a quick either memo or something identifying what we were going to move forward with for construction, just for review for Danielle and for you all to make sure that we're not making decisions that you don't agree with, kind of thing. And then from there, it shouldn't be I don't anticipate a lot of rework or work that we didn't need to do. Yes, dam does.
Yeah, so if that went away, we lowered the river, 3, 4, 5 feet. Obviously, we're not on the build, like we talked about these walls, not if we not have 3 or 5 or feet of reservoir water
holding up banks.
Exactly. Or yes, the necessity there doesn't change.
Yeah, right. So maybe the areas move or fluctuate. Yeah, I'm sure we would be able to model that, figure out kind of what to expect with that impact. So that would be included before.
And again, this isn't cheap. This is a start. I mean, we're not even talking construction here. This is millions and millions of dollars. But again, not games or not, but when we're talking about 10,000, 25,000 times wants versus needs, obviously, this is crucial to maintaining our infrastructure, maintaining our roads, so maintaining our parks, which we've lost a lot of. So again, we are trying to look at Cape State, I'm very Boston, big picture. So yeah, it is ugly. Yeah. Thanks, Aaron.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Anything further? At least call roll.
Eric,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Sherry,
Yes.
Gwen.
Yeah.
Mike,
Period. We have the application for U.S. Fish and Wildlife Natural Fish Passage Program Grant.
I move to approve the resolution of Horizon Village staff to grant funding through the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service National Fish Passage Program and to collaborate with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service staff in developing the application and to appoint blank as the as a council liaison for this project.
Support.
Can I jump in? Oh, I'm sorry, Mike. I didn't mean to interrupt you. So I did put that council liaison is, this is something we need to talk about. It's not something we normally do. This grant is a little bit different than other grants. So one, the resolution asking you to apply for it is part of our process for grant funding. So in order for us to move forward and be able to submit for that, I just need you to approve it. Two, traditional grant funding has a very clear application. You submit 1, 2, 3, turn it over to them, they review it, decide if they're going to approve it. This process is a much more hands-on process. So we actually go through the application with US Fish and Wildlife. They help us kind of write our application. We give them information. So I didn't know if you guys wanted a council liaison. I say one person because it is a quick turnaround still. So I need to have somebody that would be able to meet with them and keep our schedule going. But I didn't know if you guys wanted to have a more hands-on approach because of the difference in this application process compared to other grants. Because there are going to be, when we're meeting with US Fish and Wildlife, times where we're going to have to make a decision on how we submit our application or what different areas of the river. And I know that some of you have a passion for that, and we don't want to do something and you guys are like, why did you do that? Without having some involvement. Obviously, regardless of what you guys do, we will communicate throughout the process with you, but I didn't know if that council connection might help things go a little bit more smoothly and keep you more kind of feet on the ground involved.
I'd like to see that person again.
I thought it should be,
Now we're talking about
whatever.
Again, Ron, very passionate about the river, the success of the river. We're talking to DEA, how can we make this, a cleaner, more viable, ample resource to bring people in, talk about delivery, et cetera. We talked about dams down the line, we talked log jams, et cetera. The coal plant at the mouth of the river, you know what I mean? So again, these are big, this is not just one thing that's gonna solve the problem. Again, it's literally from the mouth to the source of the river. So again, I would love to serve on that, but again, I think a council member should be involved.
Yeah. So if you include that in your motion, which you did when, I would just ask that you identify the name of who would be that council liaison. Right, say that you would be there.
It's up to her. Again, I don't want to be everything or
Understand.
But if you, somebody else is passionate about it, I'd love to serve. What'd you say?
Yes, for them.
And again, yeah, we're gonna talk to Nora, she's got some concerns, you have enough water sourcing, so there's a lot of questions that need to be asked, and again, there's gonna be a lot of input from staff and us as well.
So to a friendly amendment to add to appoint Mike Gunter as the council liaison for this project. Are you all set with that, Lisa, then?
Yeah, I already had them written down.
Who seconded it?
Bill.
And you were good with.
Motion is to approve the resolution authorizing village staff to pursue the grant funding for the through the US Fish and Wildlife Service National Fish Passage Program and to collaborate with US Fish and Wildlife Service staff in developing the application with Point Mike Gunter as council liaison for the project. Further discussion. Okay, now please call roll.
Ken,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Sherry,
Yes.
Bill, Gwen.
Yeah.
Mike,
Yes, carries. Eric, thank you for your time. We appreciate the service.
I'm up again.
We're getting our money's worth. All right, up next, a task order for DDEG loan funding assistance. Anything, Aaron?
So I'll take the lead, but Aaron, you jump in whenever you need to. So every year, Michigan Eagle opens up to apply period where you can submit requesting for a project within your community to go forward for grant and or loan consideration. And we had submitted we had reached out to Eagle and talked to them about the reverse osmosis in hopes that we could maybe get in line for some grant funding. And Michigan Eagle came back and said, include your lead service lines, even if you aren't gonna do it or you don't know yet, just include it. We're telling everybody that, so we did that. We had a meeting with Michigan Eagle, who said that there is not a lot of grant funding that's going to be available, but they did get additional funding that will be specifically for loans or the lead service line replacement. So if we want to proceed and move forward, we would need to meet with them. We would have to go through some design and information. We'd have to get our engineer's cost estimate as part of that to determine what loan debt we could take on and how much of the project we could do. I've already talked to Aaron about this, that if we move forward, I would really like to see us do some of the lead service lines and main replacement, because we have areas with leads, we have a lot of lead service lines, and then we're tying into really old mains, so we can maybe look at a loan and take on some debt in the water fund to be able to move these projects forward. We are behind a little bit on our lead service line replacement. We have been making progress, but not as much as I'd like to see. So I asked Aaron to provide us a proposal or cost, how much it would take for them to work with us to move this project forward, so that you guys can consider this at it. Am I missing anything?
All that was wrong. I'm just kidding. No, thank you, Dana. I would say I'd add to that the original RO they said was not eligible.
Yes.
And that's $3.5 million. So you guys did what's called an intent to apply, which you have to do before actually writing a project plan. The project plan is usually anywhere from 30 to 60 pages long. And so you apply with the dollar amount and what the improvements are. And I do not believe there's any issue with replacing that $3.5 million with water main instead of the ROs. It's not eligible. I would say that there is a lot more money, I guess, for the LSL to move forward. There's a lot that they're getting more than they usually get. So hopefully the odds will be in our favor to score high and get that project plan approved. And I would say recently, City of Adrian did one for wastewater treatment plant, and I think the implication was like $2 or $3 a month per user or something like that. So it's not like a huge expense for everyone, and it gets a lot of the stuff that needs to get done. Like getting the lead out of the system done quickly and more efficiently than kind of doing it over 10 years. So it should be a good project to move forward with, give you guys project plan.
And these are low interest rate loans as well, so they're typically between like 2 and 2.25.
They're very low. They're much lower than. Yeah. And I think it goes to 20 or 30 years. But that's part of the project plan, that analysis is in there. And then I think once you get scored, you don't necessarily even have to move forward then, because after you get scored, then you enter into the agreement to meet their schedule. So you need to do the form plan.
Where would that leave us with the reverse osmosis system?
We can continue to look for grant funding, but I'm not sure what's out there right now, or start working to try to fund that internally in different ways. But unfortunately, our discussion with beginning they, like Aaron said, they didn't qualify for at least this pot of money. But we're not just letting it go.
I didn't mean that. And since it's not approved through Eagle, it obviously has to kind of go back. Well, it goes back in our to-do list. But where does that fall in our to-do list? That was what my question. Where does that fall back to?
You mean
As far as for a priority? Well, that could be part of it, but Nora seems to have identified that as probably our most likely next step that we need to move into. So there's aspects.
So obviously, we're not going to be the only municipality dealing with the amount that's going to cost it to get rid of all these lead lines, H lines, et cetera. So I mean, the 22.5 worth it? We're obviously gonna have to bond or loan lead these projects anyway. So I guess my question is, can we do that regardless?
So that's the 22.5 is because we have to have like an engineer's cost estimate. We have to have a project plan. We have to have our engineers prepare a good version of that document in order to submit for the loans or the funding. So that's what we're asking for. This task order would be bringing our engineers in so that we can start getting the project ready to submit it to Eagle to take on debt potentially.
You think with our interest rates, we would save that regardless down the line? That's what. That 22.5 would probably pay for ourselves if there was a lower interest loan rate, right?
Well, the 22.5 would come from our fund.
Right.
The loan would be for the actual construction.
He needs the loan, the lower interest rate loan.
Oh, that's the construction itself.
Right.
Yeah, versus a 4 or 5% interest rate.
Oh,
like
yeah.
for USDA or whatever.
Oh, yeah. I'm, because if we go elsewhere, it's gonna be double, if not more. I would imagine. I don't know the exact rates today, but these are going to be fun. And they do have a larger pot of money that I don't know if they'll have that next year or not. Again, it's specifically for loans, but the focus for them is helping communities get these lead service lines replaced. So that's, I also don't want to miss that opportunity when they've got a larger pot to hopefully spread it out to communities and be able to give that funding a little bit more than they normally can.
I will say too that if for whatever reason you guys didn't score high enough to be in the fund range, you can reapply next year. There might be some minor conditions based on the financial and the dates and stuff, and you can just keep reapplying and hopefully score.
That information would still be relevant then.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, yeah, because you're going off the TMF grant, the verification of the TMF grant, so they see that you did that, and now you want to take care of it. So that should help you as well, that you did the verification. It's not just some, yeah, we think we have this many lead, like you should know where they are now, so it should help process and problem. At least that's on the right. So.
Do you have any background of the municipalities that have already received it? Because magically, anytime you see this, Flint gets it or Detroit gets it, and these little guys like us are really.
So I do not, I believe the city of Monroe did get some for that recently, but I haven't seen like exploring fundable range. Usually I can get that, pretty soon, and I'll get it to Danielle when we're writing it, but I think there's usually a good feel for it, will be fundable or not, but we should want that relatively soon. Start rating.
And Eagle did indicate that they think a lot of these are going to fund it. And I don't know the exact amount of additional funding we got, but
It's pretty substantial.
it was quite a bit. I don't know. I mean, they're the ones that specifically told us, like, put this on there, guys include it because. And it's kind of been pushing for us to submit for this in the blocking.
I think that as far as the LSL goes, there's the, requirement of replacing all the 10 years. So every year, there's probably going to be a pot of money for it. So it's better to just do this now, then you have your plan, and then if you don't get it, you do it next year, just keep going after it. You probably just be a thing. I mean, that would be nice.
Well, we know things don't get cheaper, so.
Well, there's that.
Move to approve the engineering task order in the amount of $22,500 for assistance with pursuing drinking water state revolving fund via DWSRF financing for lead service line replacement projects.
Support. Motion Bill and second. Ken to approve the engineering task order in the amount of $22,500 for assistance with pursuing drinking water state revolving fund financing for lead service line replacement projects. Further discussion? Not least call roll.
Gwen,
Yes.
Sherry,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Eric.
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes. Here. Number 7. Proposal for engineering task order for South Lane Street. Yep.
So So this project has grown a little bit. I initially had planned on we were going to mill and fill this street as part of it's South Lane, I guess I should clarify, from 223 to Jefferson. We were going to just mill and fill it with our normal streets projects because it is getting pretty bad. There's a lot of crack fill. It's our main thoroughfare. We thought it would be a good year because we're doing the decorative lights, so we thought we'd just kind of be disruptive one year and then hopefully be good to go the following years. And this project has evolved a little bit since I initially thought we'd do mill and fill. So Brent had brought up that there's some catch basins that are broken that need to be repaired. So I reached out to Aaron. I said, I have all the specs for mill and fill, but I really need some help with the catch basins. And then, like I said, from there, we've got broken curb and gutter, and we thought if we're gonna do this, we might as well fix that. And then it's like a home renovation project, where you open it up and then you're like, oh, well, while we're doing it, look at this. So all of the things, and it's getting outside of my scope to make sure that the specs are properly done, and then it's getting to be where we need to do marking and surveying for the flags to make sure that it's reconstructed properly, and that's where the engineers come in. So I've asked for a proposal to do this. This would be the cost for both the design and then to manage the project through the construction phase. But they have done a little bit of work.
Yeah, I tried to help as much as I could. This is too much for conservative. We tried really hard to get it.
I'm coming to you guys to talk about that. So I guess kind of our options, we could fix it all while we're going in there and doing it. We can scale this back and just do the mill and fill, but then we're going to have those other issues will have to be fixed at some point. So to me, it just seemed more cost effective for us to do it all at once. Some of the things that are still, this is just this portion, we have reached out to Mike with design committee and Laura with BEA because we've got those crosswalks, the pedestrian crosswalks that are bricks. So we're talking about how we can, if we're going to leave those, we're going to do something else there because we do have some concerns with safety regarding the middle one because people do blow through them, maybe not for pedestrians. So we're talking about that a little bit, but either way, if we want to fix it correctly, we need the engineers involved.
My question, yeah, and we did discuss this, last week. So I guess reading through it today, it says including the project scope is design for replacement of curb and gutter, existing sidewalk, replace the sidewalk paver in the 9 catch basins. So my concern is, well, I guess my question is, have we talked, I'm sure Laura's got interest in this. Are we talking about maybe widening the road? I don't want to just put the sidewalk and the curb right back in the same spot. I think we should look at, we change the parking angle so that we have a little bit more driving lanes. And we want to shorten sidewalks. We want to widen sidewalks for seating, for eating, dining.
And we did not talk about any significant.
We haven't covered before horse, I guess is my question. I guess we've got drainage issues, catch basin issues, but I think to see balls into a larger scale project and sort of streetscape project. I don't know, Laura, you agree, that rather than just saying tear out what's there and put the same exact thing in, because
I would say, I mean, and y'all can maybe say something, but what we're gonna do is called the road corridor. So we'll design that, and if you want it to go wider, we'll have surveys for the whole street. We'll have all that information. So if you wanted to, we can have it and grade it. It might force a little bit more survey out depending on what you actually do, but there might be some. But yeah, I mean, we could include some sort of iteration in there where we kind of bring we'd have to have a scoping meeting, a little bit of kickoff to say, we want this wider, we want this wider, we don't like this, we want more of a turn lane, whatever it is. We want to raise median where the crosswalk is, stuff like that. And then from there,
don't, by the way.
Well, that's
It's an example.
Sorry, we're not doing that. But whatever it is, we would scope that and we would have survey for the whole thing. So normally the answer would be no, because we didn't have full survey, and that's kind of how this all evolved, because she started saying things like, well, we got to raise the curb. Well, you can't just replace, what about the ADA ramp? Well, you can't. So it just eventually evolved. So you need to survey the whole thing. And once we have the survey for the whole thing, I can put a roundabout in there if we want.
hour and effort, so you just have to tell me what you want before we start getting into it.
But
Yeah.
that's what I was trying to say. We need the engineers involved now because it has grown. If it's just a mill and fill, that's something we can do in-house. We don't need them to survey it. We don't need them to, we can manage that internally, but we really kind of like, if you guys want to do that with the camp, then the engineers have to be involved because that's not something we can survey and scope out.
Like, once we have a survey, if you want to change geometric stuff like that, I mean, we would, I've looked at the scope and like, so I've.
And if we move forward with this, we can include Laura and or designer, whoever needs to be included in that kickoff meeting where we're talking about this project as a whole and throughout
That's not
the
good.
project. So you'll do it.
I'm just tired of it. I got Mike, I'm gonna start a Logami team. It's Daniel knows, she's like,
Well, again, the catch basins, if we replace them, they're static, they are where they are. So.
well, you would grade, yeah, you grade it to a new low spot, you could look at all that, that's what.
That's stuff that I would rather
Do it
take
ahead
our
of time.
time on and
Yeah,
slow down.
we have the issue where we can't put that bollard in the middle because we don't have a wide enough road on the crosswalk. So that may address that, if we could have widened it just a bit, but I didn't know it was an option.
There's gonna be trade-offs, right? You got building both sides, so we would go over all that.
Your eyes are closing and Laura's just open.
Yeah, we talked about this, right, Laura, like what is the overall plan, you know, if a mill of Phil's gonna get us by for the time being until we ultimately say, you know, we're talking $223 million in 10 years. So again, but that I see as a larger focus, both streetscape, the entire project.
And you can wait, if you guys are saying I'm not ready to make these decisions, I mean, the street will make it, it's not gonna crumble, it's not gonna fall apart.
I don't wanna close the street down, put the streetlights in for a week and then close it down we saw it some angle, there we had widened the street, we don't want that. So, you know, definitely want to look at our options.
Well, it depends too, like, you could design it now, have it on the shelf for what you want, and then not do the construction for, go to bid 2 or 3 years later, just take it off the shelf, move out there and do that. So I'd say if you're going to do something, and you want, if you're talking full reconstruction, changing everything, changing geometrics, and that's outside of what the mill and fill that we were planning on doing, you could design that and then just move forward with the mill and fill if you want. That might not even, I mean, like Danielle said, it's not going, I don't think it's like you know, rated 2 right now. It's not like, it's not powered, not a lot of stuff. So if you wanted to do that, you would kind of design that now, put it on the shelf, and then in 2 years go off the here's our plans. And
I guess this one final point, I don't want to replace all the sidewalks just for the heck of it and replace the catch basins, and now they're right in the same spot where we actually want them at a different location. Right. So for me, I'm all for mill and fill, move on and think bigger picture. But I mean, if this is going to get you your underground surveys, get us everything where everything is, what we need, move forward, fine. But again, I don't think we're at that point where we know what we exactly want to make that streetscape.
I think if you're worried construction budget wise, this is probably the lowest iteration right now, and then full reconstruction and regeometrics is later. So I think just based on what some of the goals of the project were, it might make sense to move forward with this, and then the larger topic later.
It's up to you guys.
Well,
So I
no, the thing is, we don't know until we have more information. That's the same thing we do with our number. It's the same thing that we're doing with Parks and Rec. It's the same thing we do with everything else.
So I would do the length, integrated length. So a full reconstruction is usually at least $1 million. But you could roughly, yeah, you might have some additional geometrics, some additional costs, but
sure.
I don't remember the line. You remember it, you put it on your application or investments.
Probably, I think it's around 450. 400 feet, 450 or so.
It's really good too.
That's very specific, so let's fix that. We'll round up to 400.
We have to include that. I was trying to think where I could pull one.
I use it on every application, so I should do it. I think it's when you. I know our tent is 108 feet, so.
You want me to go look at the application on the counter?
I'm pulling it. I found. It's 420 feet long. By 44 feet wide currently.
You know, I mean, so say these parklets. I won't get into, but again, you know, I think we get rid of the parklets, and I hate to say it, but maybe somebody says, okay, we take out a spot. You know, at the end of the street for actual seating, et cetera, rather than, you know, we just build the same thing at the curb and we install the parklets. Maybe we take one out the curb and sidewalk, extend the spot, right? And that's a little bit more,
I mean,
long-term solution. But these are questions, I guess, as a design committee, as DDA. What is our ultimate goal? Is that what we're?
I mean, any of the geometrics on the road, any of that stuff can be. Once you have survey, and it's all about what you want to pay for. Usually it's, well, we want to do this, well, that's gonna be 200 grand, well, we don't want to pay for that, okay, well, what else do we do? So it's kind of like, I mean, we're gonna coordinate through design with Danielle anyway, no matter what, whether it's a little bit minor, I mean, I obviously have a great relationship with the village, Max, and really appreciate everything that we get to do with you, so if there was some extra coordination or extra modeling, I don't anticipate it being an issue. It's not gonna like double the scope or anything like that. It'll just be, you know, what do you want us to model? And then we'll just keep track of that and be efficient and it'll be, kicking. I don't know if we have to meet with like the design committee where we kind of go through what the possibilities are, or I bring an aerial survey and kind of draw what we want, whatever we want. We'll document it. We'll either bring it back to the council and say, yes, this is what we want, or we don't, and then then we design, then we put the ground on it. So if you want to get it constructed this year, it's gonna be a fast moving thing. You need an MDOT permit, you know, you need a bunch of stuff, you need, you probably should go up there by end of March, early April at the latest, so you can get on the contract, so you don't slow up. A lot of the design is in the winter and then it all comes January, February, and so they start to fill up. So some of the local contractors will probably still be interested, obviously. It's just if you want to get, you know, firmly in the season and not risk going to the next year, you want to, you know, get it out to the April dates. I think we put in there. Yeah, it's a bidding February, March. So it's kind of because we've been working on it since.
Yeah, but that was not making changes. That was us like putting things back where they are. Just making sure that Wellman Pack was functioning properly.
400, I can tell you I'm not worried about 400 feet of road line. We'll figure it out a week or two. It's really dependent on you guys agreeing with what you want, to be honest.
I didn't put the design with it. But I don't know that we have the luxury of postponing the lights. That's, you know, I'm a little concerned with the family.
We don't have, it can be a separate project.
Well,
Our thought with the mill and bill, because again, initially this has grown. Initially, we were gonna mill and bill, which is a fairly, you're looking at a couple day process usually. Along with the lights, so we thought it'd be good just to get it done and over with. I mean, if we're looking at expanding the scope, you're talking about a longer shutdown period, a larger impact, so doesn't have to be done the same time as the lights.
And I think the road's probably wide enough where you scope in there. It's traffic where you say, I want 2 lanes each direction, separate on one side and switch to the other side. We don't necessarily have to have a complete shutdown. But that's obviously designed to look at it, but and that'll depend on what you're doing, right? So you want to make sure that you have part of it. So there's ways around whatever access you guys need. All the businesses, obviously, that would be in the contract, keeping access during construction. We'll have in this scope, we have someone on the site management, you know, testing, making sure the contract is doing right, and also liaison for the village with all the businesses and just to make sure that they're happy too. So it's not just a free fall out there or whatever. So all that's in there. So really, honestly, we have to meet and we want to look at that. We can change that pretty easily.
We can also not take any action tonight and meet first and then bring this back. Just know that we're not gonna follow the timeline we proposed in here. if you want to do that, which is okay. I just. Yeah, it's February 9th. February 9th.
I would say that's. We're scheduling survey. That's one of the things I was asked to see if someone's help us file this finish survey. Get it done. We were to go forward with it, and we weren't gonna do that. We want to hold off for 2 weeks. That'd be fine. Just, it might, you might risk not getting good bids back. But generally, contractors build up, build in, but it'll be high, they don't really want it, but if they have to. So, you know, if that happens, just pull the bids back and rebid, you might get it actually.
But I guess that's what I'm saying though, is if they wanted
Right,
to just scoping our schedule, I think would have to change, but we could do that.
Right.
Again, not trying to bring this out, it's been a long meeting, but again, we talked about, the mini parks, what we want to do with that, how we want to tie all this stuff in, and obviously it's make money on the line, but for me, get the street milled, resealed, build, have a nice decent, surface. This, I think, enough a Band-Aid for me to get by and say, let's look at the bigger project later on, unless this is just gonna get us the prints of what's underneath, and
I think this scope is that.
because otherwise, I guess the argument would be down the line, up to me is down the line of, okay, are we gonna pay to replace catch basins in the same spot we go up in? So maybe this is the good first step, but again, maybe we'll be a little bit timid that we're just gonna drive into this.
You can move those too, like, you can excavate and kind of break down to
But we don't know how much, again, that's gonna cost.
the grade, you don't know that.
I certainly don't wanna pay for it next year and then in 2 years, like, oh crap.
Yeah, it depends on how far out you want the geometrics to change. It's a 5 year or a 10. It's 2, 10, 5.
If I understand what Aaron's saying is this would be a survey of the road, we wouldn't have to act on anything, but it would be something that we could use as a document moving forward not change.
So this scope is to design and build fill where you're kind of putting the curb back, you're replacing some catch basins and you're doing a replacement of the top layer of the asphalt. So it's not bringing curbs in, it's not jutting up, it's doing the 88, making sure the 88 ramps are good, it's doing some crosswalk change, material changes, things like that. But it's not like a huge geometric change. It's kind of like, so it started off as a mill fill where it was like a long job where you go, hey contractor, I've got 400 feet of road, how much is it? And now it's gonna be, hey, we actually have to set frames, we have to remove curb, put stuff back. Fix some catch basins, so you wanna make sure you set the rings at the right spot, make sure all the low spots, all the drainage, stuff like that, so it's a little bit step up. Then you have full reconstruction and re-geometrics, just taking everything out, down to the even the stone shape, and then kind of putting it back, regrading it, putting it back. We can curve the line with line, so. I feel like I'm over explaining that.
No, you're explaining it really well. I'm following you going, parts of going, yes, and the last part, no.
But without this survey, and we can't even look into the future. Correct.
Yeah,
If we want to do what we want to do, still need the survey to do what we want to do.
Either way, yes.
Either way, we still need to have the survey.
Which is why we kind of said.
But this also includes some added funds for replacing, right, for saying, oh, this is how you're gonna design these catch basins or underground.
There's design funds for the.
So again, we would be potentially spending again in a few years to redesign. If Aaron looked at the top, they're looking under anything under the surface, I'd be okay with that. Say, hey, this curb's bad, this needs to be replaced, this is an issue, fine, we'll mill it, we'll move on. But again, we've talked about really planning these projects out, not sort of just having, whatting it and putting a Band-Aid on it and saying, okay, or doing things, difficult years. Again, let's look at a long-term approach, say, this is what we're trying to accomplish and not waste money of replacing something this year and then digging it up in 2 or 3 years and painting again to do it all over.
But I don't, do you know roughly how much of the survey portion is of the design proposal? By chance? I know I'm putting you on the spot, I apologize.
Usually it'd probably be, I want to say 12 to 15,000. Usually. Just because there's so many businesses, you gotta get a bid explorer, you know, that stuff.
So I guess what I'm hearing maybe from at least a couple of council members is that you're not looking for, that you would be satisfied with the mill and fill and we're not ready or to the point that we would want to rebuild something in the same place. So just get us by until we're ready. And if that's the case, then maybe we don't take action on this tonight. When you are wanting to have that discussion about what your long-term plans are for that street, at a minimum, we would need to have survey completed for it. So I don't know what kind of time frame you're looking, if you're wanting to do a full reconstruction of it, or if we're saying we're happy with the way it's laid out, then I think we can move forward with this. Which I think is what we were under the assumption that where things are is fine. They just need to not be broken. And just it needs to be rebuilt.
What you stated before I'm going, Danielle, we just had our discussion last week about, we're talking 9 years, 9 years, the whole 223 thing is gonna come down the road. And we can't do both this downtown corridor and 223. We can't do that. It's not feasible. I think we recognize that. That's why I am very much for the mill and fill, but with the corrections that need to be done to the basins, etc. I hear where you're coming from. I hear, Laura, where that's high in the sky, in my opinion, at this time. I think you might even go back to what we've said so many times. If we're gonna do it, let's do it correctly. And I think doing the catch basins and all that right now is the correct thing to do at this time. That not just mill and fill, Danielle, that next step that you're running that money for. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, if we're thinking any further like changing the paper road and stuff, that's like. It's a major project. That's like,
We're not ready for that.
that's a bucket list.
But is my understanding that the surveying that you'll be doing gives us potential to look at those kinds of things in the future?
Yes.
Actually, does the mill and fill plus the corrections and it'll.
Yeah, we'll have the CAD files on file. I'll deliver them once they're down to Danielle. We have those in the future, pull off the shelf, and basically what happens is our survey crew will get the CAD file, pull out spot checks and things, and I'll be trying to survey.
And it's not holding, setting us up, I guess, down the line when we're bidding it out, saying, are we actually gonna move these or rebuild these, then we can have this argument as well, but at least.
Right.
We'll know where stuff is at, because. Laura, I know you want just as much as myself as these active in BDA boards over that, we want some changes down there, but yeah, again, much like Parks and Rec, it's just about money. Right, but I just don't wanna be double dipping spending. On something never gets here.
I think if we just do the mill and fill, that's exactly what. Down the road. I make the motion to approve the engineering task order for the South Main Street project between US 223 and East Jefferson Street in the amount of $31,800 for design services, $28,800 for the construction man.
I'll support.
I have a motion going in a second, Sherry, to approve the engineering task order for the South Main Street project between US 223 East Jefferson Street, the amount of $31,800 for design services and $28,800 for construction management. Further discussion? If not, please call.
Bill,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Tim, Sherry,
Yes.
Gwen.
Yeah.
Mike,
I am going.
I think, I don't know.
Who you are.
You are, yeah, okay.
Next time we put him at the beginning. Thanks, sir.
You're welcome.
Up next, number 8, appointment Parks and Rec Advisory Board. We have the current members. Your appointment.
Correct. I move to reappoint Dan Harps and Kelsey Roses to the Parks and Rec Advisory Board with terms ending December the 31st, 2027, as recommended by the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board.
Support. Sure, got it. I heard Bill, so okay, good, Barry. Motion one, second, Sherry, to reappoint Pam Parks, Kelsey Roses, the Parks and Rec Advisory Board with terms ending December 1st, 7, as recommended by the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board. Further discussion? Please call roll.
Eric,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Sherry,
Yes.
Gwen,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes. Carries, with no reports. Thank you, Patty, for putting that together. It was very interesting. Informative. What we've done managed for the year. Thank you for water treatment plant.
As always, appreciate yours.
Thank you.
Good work, yeah.
Still want to get some going to the wagon. Spin their wheels on it like that.
I've
I
got
know, I know.
a meeting to tentatively set up with them and we're working on it. I promise.
All right, anyone else? Wastewater?
Thank you.
Council discussion. Dave here, so I guess discuss with them. I'd first like to mention the entire coffee hour on Saturday. It was good that all those people that complain online that do it during business hours were there, so did that. Council discussion, go ahead. Anything before we move on talking with Dave?
I'm not gonna be able to make it to the 9th February meeting. And I just want to say that I went out snowboard today and big kudos to DPW for their snow removal. I'm gonna call it snow team.
Right.
Yes, I'm gonna remove myself from the LaSalle subcommittee so that Bill can take that. He's asked to specifically do that. So.
Need a motion to amend that committee,
That would probably be the proper
let's do so.
to just have a motion to switch those two, just official.
I move that Ken Nichols be removed from the LaSalle subcommittee and that Bill Gritsmaker replace him.
Support.
Motion Ken, second Bill, that we remove Ken Nichols from the LaSalle subcommittee and replace him with Chris. Please call roll.
Sherry,
Yes.
Gwen,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Ken, Mike,
Thank you, gentlemen. Because thanks for being here. The question apparently, so.
Answer whatever questions I can.
Go.
That have the questions from last meeting.
I believe so.
Yeah, Dave, did you hear the questions?
I watched the video, but I just watched it one time and understood that I was requested to come and maybe answer whatever questions you had, so I don't recall them specifically.
You know if there's any outstanding invoices from the plant we ran considering the embezzlement case, forensic audit?
I am not aware of them, but they would not send them, they would not have sent them to me, so I'm not aware of any.
I am also not aware. Of record, I guess.
You better reach out to them and verify that we're good.
I had reached out to them. I'm gonna have to go back and look at the date. I apologize. Because you guys had requested information on the amount of money that was spent. So I had done some research and I reached out to them to see if there was anything outstanding. And at that time, they told me no. I'll have to double check the date when I did that. So as far as I know, I don't think anything has happened after that. I had reached out that would require another bill, but if you want me to confirm, I can. I guess I'm wondering why you brought that up in a village discussion of why you didn't ask Danielle about finances or Lisa personally. That's my question.
Because I wanted to make it a public notice that we spent all this money to find $26,000. So somewhere between $80,000 and $90,000 the village spent to find $26,000. And to my knowledge, we've never proved that there was $26,000.
I'm gonna ask, I'm gonna be maybe a little more specific. Dave, while you're here, I want to utilize your time, okay, very clearly. I did make a little note, hoping that you were gonna be here. That was my understanding. I could not be here. I was ill on the date that you spoke, Tim. So that was one of my questions, is why you did not just simply ask Danielle, or again, Lisa, you know, were there any outstanding invoices for the term, for the auditors? Or French auditor, yes, correct. Thank you, Brandy. So I guess, Dave, what I would like you to do, if you could, as best of your ability, could you summarize the key points, what's going on with this case? I know that it's very broad, meaning this. Let me just throw some things at you when I'm looking at it. What is the village? What were our responsibilities? What was our role in this whole case, if you would please? That's one question. Why did we pay for the audit? Why did the village pay for the audits? I'd like to see if you could address that. Why did the state police take over this case? Why did we go to court? Where does it stand currently, the case? Those are the key things I would like us to address. And I think that, if I understand you correctly, Tim, you're saying you want this on record. And that's why I would like very much with Dave, you here, for all of this to go on to record, so that I'm hoping we can take this case and we can go forward. I thought this was done with this discussion, and I'm a little saddened that Tim, did you ever reach out to Dave when he, at the end of every email, he always states, any questions, call me. Did you ever call Dave about any of the questions you may have had?
No, two reasons why.
Why would you not?
He wants to funnel all of his information to the administrator. And if I reach out to him, he's gonna charge us for it.
That is part of our duty. If we have a question, that we have the opportunity / obligation to get clarity from our attorney. I have called him several times on not just this embezzlement thing, different things that I've not understood for clarity. I talked each time to Danielle prior to or afterwards, just simply because I think that's a courtesy thing to do, and to say, hey, Danielle, I am calling Dave, and I'm calling him for this reason. Or I'll have said, hey, Danielle, I called Dave, and Dave, you were to test that I have contacted you on several different things for clarity. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
That is part of our opportunity as counsel to do that. Does he probably discuss some things with Danielle? I don't know. I don't worry about that because it's the questions that Gwen Dusa has. So if I've had a question on something, I think he's the man to ask. I mean, that's very simple.
That's a good point, but again, what is he charging us for 7 different people potentially calling him? Would it make more sense to have him be at these meetings, much like I think he should, and we can all be here and we all.
I don't think they need to be here for every single meeting. I do.
Go.
We always did, and that was one of the things that council voted upon that we did not need.
But my question is, are we offsetting costs where we can all?
Dave, let's ask you the question. So Dave, every time I call and I was on the phone with you for 5 minutes, I was on the phone for you 10 minutes.
That's a 15-minute minimum call, right?
I bill
33 cents an hour, right?
if I communicate or provide advice or counsel to a client, I bill accordingly.
Now-
That's under the
It's
under our letter of engagement. And just so there, I know that when with my former law firm before I transitioned, when we did and our proposals as interim attorney and as for the full-time position, we did provide, different proposals based on coming to, whether it was 2 meetings a month or coming to 1 meeting a month or just as needed. So those were the options that we provided, and the majority of the council decided just to have me come to meetings
as requested. So that's how we are. As always, something that you as a council can decide otherwise. You know, two of my other municipalities have me attend every meeting. I have my other municipalities don't. So it's really, you know, your preference. As far as your questions go, I'm going to ask you to go through one at a time because I kind of ripped them off.
So I did, because I was ready to roll. So I guess, David, if you could summarize from the beginning, the key points of when, and this has been, you know, a number of years ago. And if you could just kind of go through those key points, okay, so how it started, where it went, the next, personally, and I don't know when on council takes offense with this, I don't care, Dave, if this takes us a half an hour to talk about it. I don't care. And I state that not to be flippant. I state that because I want this done and I'd like it to be over. I don't want to continue to coming back for this. This is not, in my personal opinion, a good thing to continue with for our council / our village residents. It needs to stop. Questions need to be addressed tonight, not linger and come back 3 months down the road. Oh, by the way, he's here now. Let's get it out now. Let's discuss it. Questions asked, questions answered. While he's here, it's on the record. Let's do that.
Well, I'll qualify my answer to say, as you talk about, this is something that has been occurring for a number of years, and certainly predates my time being associated with the village and also my prior my former partners' involvement with the village. So part of my understanding of kind of how things started were based on, as we were kind of getting to speed based on our review of different reports and documents that we were made privy of. You know, there was a question in regards to the handling of some funds, particularly I believe it is the water bill funds that I think there was my understanding is there was a meeting where I think Chief Greenleaf actually wisely stated that this investigation should be outside the village. It should be referred to Michigan State Police for investigation. My understanding is that council did approve an initial forensic audit with Plant Moran. My understanding it was a limited forensic audit. And then subsequently, the village council decided to authorize a more complete forensic audit.
At MSP's request.
At MSP's request. Yeah. So some of you may know more than I do, because again, I wasn't involved. So at MSP, I think at the MSP's request, they asked to have a more complete forensic audit. Council approved it, and that is the audit that I have provided to all of you. That at this point, understand that as the village, just like in any criminal investigation, the village is considered the victim, generally speaking. Ultimately, the decision to request charges in any case, and this one was no different, rests with the investigating law enforcement agency. That was Michigan State Police. The ultimate decision of whether to charge and what charges to bring rests solely with the prosecuting authority. In this particular case, that's with the Liberty County Prosecutor's Office.
So the village of Blissfield, we had nothing to do with this. This is all handed over. We had no say so in it. Would that be accurate to say?
We didn't have any decision-making authority on what happened. Was there some reaching out by the Liberty County Prosecutor's Office to us, to various members of the
the staff and of the council. There were some conversations with my office, representing the village. Yes, but ultimately.
And vice versa.
Pardon?
And vice versa. Apparently your office reaching out to prosecutors as well and requesting things be looked into or addressed the prosecutor going forward. Not saying you, but I'm saying your office.
Yeah, so, in our office, there was a transition of between who was representing the village. But ultimately, the decision of whether to seek charges and what charges to make ultimately rested with the Michigan State Police and the Leonard County Prosecutor's Office. At that point, I was asked and tasked by village council to attend any hearings that there were, and to provide regular updates to council, which whenever there was a development, whenever there was a hearing, I would summarize it and I would email it to the council. The court case did progress. It went through a preliminary examination. The district court found that there was enough to send the case to circuit court. And then there were various discussions, hearings that I'm not privy to, as far as detailed discussion between prosecutor's office and defense counsel. Ultimately, what happened is the prosecutor's office did reach out to me and state that their intention was to dismiss the case, and that was last summer. I did inquire as to, and I was told that the reason for the dismissal was at the village's request. I explained to the assistant prosecutor that I talked to that that's not accurate for a number of reasons. Number one, the village speaks to its village council, and the village council, to my knowledge, had never voted on whether or not to support, whether to ask that the charge be suspended. So that would not be accurate. I requested, I dug a little deeper. So what, tell me what is going on. While I was not provided any real detailed answers, the answer I got, and actually it is one of the reasons stated in the dismissal, is due to the unavailability or uncooperation of witnesses within the village of Blissfield. Not necessarily in the village government or village staff, but those within the village who would have knowledge of what may or may not happen. So I believe I sent this to everyone as well.
That point wasn't real clear. I think a lot of us probably have that question. That unavailability part, again, was it staff member? Was it?
Yeah.
But
It wasn't, and that I want to make really clear is, and I want to make that very, very clear with the prosecutor's office, because I asked about that specifically. I said, is that an issue of uncooperation or unavailability of village staff, of people, village council, village staff, anyone that you are seeking cooperation from? She said, no, it is the unavailability and or uncooperation of various members of the people in the village itself that would have knowledge of the underlying facts surrounding what led to the charge to begin with, i.e. the people that were bringing in the water payments. That was more of the issue, and that's what was stated to me. Now,
would MSP have done a background on that, done some investigation, or talked to these people before wanting to file these charges? I mean, wouldn't that make sense?
How I'm not gonna speak it. I know. You know, it's when I'm a prosecutor and I am working with my local law enforcement in the prosecution of a case, when I have questions, I ask those questions, and if there's more that needs to be looked at, I ask that more to be looked at. Did that happen in this case? I don't know. If it didn't, why it didn't, I don't know. I can't answer that. That's something that the London County prosecutors would have to ask, or the Michigan State Police. But you know, all I can say is that was the answer that was given to me. So I passed that.
That factual answer though, what the excuse for dismissal was.
Well, is there more there? I don't know. Could there be? Sure. Here's what, and again, generally speaking, and I'm not, and this is not a comment about this case in particular. Generally speaking, prosecutors want to feel confident that when they are bringing a case to a trial, they're confident that they're going to get a conviction. Things happen during a case. Circumstances change. Facts come to light. Generally speaking, where you're as a prosecuting your confidence in being able to secure that conviction can change. That doesn't mean you don't think what happened, what's been accused didn't happen. What you evaluated is that you don't believe that you don't have the sufficient evidence, either documentary evidence or testimonial evidence or whatever, where you are going to be, where you feel confident because of obtain a conviction. And remember that criminal prosecutions have to be proven by the prosecution by beyond a reasonable doubt. It's a very high burden, and it should be.
So they didn't have clear enough evidence that the suspect involved was the person.
What
like could it have been somebody else? I mean, that's
what I was told simply was that they didn't believe, they didn't have based on their investigation up to that point during the pendency of this case, based on what they had, they didn't believe that they had a good enough chance to obtain a conviction that warranted continuing on with the prosecution. And so, and that happens. That happens all the time.
Sure.
But for lots of reasons. Unfortunately, I don't know. Well, I told you what I know on it as far as why they decided not, to dismiss it. So, at this point, as far as where the case stands now, the case is over. The case is concluded. There's nothing more going on. There are no more hearings. There's no, there is, the case is done.
Yes, so do we owe, again, much like a lot of us have said, what have we gotten for the 80,000-90,000 that we spent? Right, I think there needs to be some accountability. Whether it's whoever reported the case, whether it's Plant Moran, who didn't be forensic audit, that may have been correct. You know what I'm saying? Brent drove back over to the river, right? To be some accountability, we wasted $75,000, right? So again, where's the accountability on the background of what, not only the amount of black eye of the public, the amount of finance, the amount of money that we spent on this entire project process, only for it to just be like, right? So that's a lot of our questions. What did we get from it? What was the fault? Do we go after Plant Moran and say your audit sucked? Do we go after MSP and say, sorry, your investigation sucked? Or what, how do we provide that back to us to say,
What options?
exactly, I mean, do have on top of the answer though, we still don't even know if money was missing. None of us would be know, right? Or ever was. Right?
Nothing ever has been proven beyond a reasonable doubt.
Well, I hate to speak up, wear my counselor, I also wear a, family member hat, and somebody lost her career and her name and her retirement, her pension, and her livelihood because some garbage that magically just disappeared in July again. Go back and start Googling that investigator for MSP. Wholeheartedly ask people to start doing that. See where his time was spent. It certainly wasn't in this case. We owe it to ourselves and represent the village. We owe it to myself and my family. We owe it to taxpayers. We owe it to the residents who call this county anyway county for a reason. If you're bringing garbage prosecutions that aren't going to go through, ruin people's lives technically, what's going to happen, right? Some accountability needs to be held. If we're up to me, we should go back after Plant Moran and get our money back, because if they didn't provide a good enough audit, or if MSP didn't provide good enough evidence to say that this is valid, like I said, my sister, I love her regardless, good, bad, ugly. She was no wrong, we'll hold her accountable. But again, there's a lot of unanswered questions. I think it's up to us and it's up to the public. Spending 5 years of a black eye on this community and the former employee.
So Gwen, I want to come back to you, since you personally addressed me. I have a right.
I addressed you because you get those questions. I wasn't here last.
I prepared those questions on Saturday before the meeting. I didn't know you weren't going to be here. So if you think I did, it's because you weren't here, that would be inaccurate.
I did not think that.
And I have, I don't,
Oh, I did not.
I have a right to ask a question if public wants to.
Yes, you do.
Okay. You're directing me to ask the administrator or the clerk.
No, I did not direct you to. I asked why you didn't do that. You have that option.
All right.
There was no direction in my question. I said, why wouldn't you not do that?
I don't know if I.
Okay.
So that in my research and trying to find out some more answers, I found out about a police report back in 2020. In June of 2020. About some missing money with the bus. Did you know about that?
Are you asking me about that?
Yes, ma'am.
In June of 2020?
Right.
Yes, I would have been to that.
Yeah. I try to remember too. It does, but so. No.
Is that what you're referring to?
There's a police report in June 2020 that says there was missing money from a deposit.
I honestly do not recall saying anything like that.
All right. Well, it seemed to be that when I mentioned that, it triggered some anger. He was on the meeting.
Oh, I understand. 'Cause I wasn't here. Okay, I understand.
So if we're upset about a police report that chief is a police report public, generally speaking. Okay. So here we have it. It tails missing money, and then it was found in a staff member's office. What kind of disciplinary action was taken with the staff member.
Again, is this direct towards me or you was talking to council
Well,
overall?
I'm talking.
I,
You're
I,
bored, so. Right. Yeah, yeah. It was,
unless you don't, if Mike says we got a copy of the report, then we must have gotten a copy of the report. I don't recall. Mike says we did, then we did.
So I asked about it and it stirred up anger. Because I'm asking, and I think that you are too, you want me to just let it go. Right? I think that's what I'm hearing. It's been dismissed. We don't like how it's been dismissed, correct? Who's the unavailable person? Who's not cooperating? Who are these people? Somebody has got to know who they are.
And that's why I'm saying, let's bring this discussion up now and let's get it on the table and get it over with.
That's why.
If you have those questions, then ask those questions, Tim. There's
Absolutely.
nothing wrong with that. I
That's
never
why,
said that.
that's why I did it.
So, and that's why David's here tonight. So I'm not on the same page as you, and I apologize because I'm not on the same page as where you are.
Yeah.
I'm simply saying, last week, when I watched, or 2 weeks ago, when I watched the Zoom, whatever it was, I heard the comments, I heard the questions, and I went, every time you have a question on a bill, you always ask Lisa and you always ask Danielle. That's just what you do.
Well, I make comments too. on this a little bit. So when I have residents asking me, what gives here? So I'm gonna ask questions. It doesn't have to necessarily be, private meeting,
I understand. I'm just also stating, why would you not ask them that question? That's all. I really think, Tim, what's where I'm looking for. My intention is not to upset you. I'm simply trying to ask you a question. Perhaps it's my tone, and if it is, I apologize. That's not what I'm looking for. I am just simply thinking, you asked this question, why would you not ask Lisa nor Danielle, hey, do we have outstanding, bills? It sounded like you're kind of insinuating that there are, and they're not being honest about it. That's kind of how I took it. Honest answer.
Right.
So I'm thinking, well, why do you not just ask them?
Well, first of all, I'm not upset. I feel like an injustice has been done.
I didn't say that an injustice was not done.
Hey, then, if an injustice has been done, how do we correct it?
Well, we correct it by discussing it.
So that's why we brought it up.
Oh.
Okay.
So Dave's here. Do you have any more questions for Dave?
I do not.
thank you, Sherry. Thank you. Eric?
Sherry, did you have a question?
I mean, he brought up whether there was any disciplinary action on the employee that. Where the police report was on that. I'm curious on that, I guess. I don't know.
Well, that's not the only instance. There are other instances.
Right, but
That guilty case.
Is
That
that,
guilty case.
right, is that connection to the other?
Yeah, the garbage tank especially.
I was bored.
Okay, we'll talk more about it, but again.
Some of this, yeah.
But I mean, I questioned it,
Yeah,
so.
right. There was quote missing garbage tank money, and then that magically included in that building case, and then that was on top of it. That money was never paid. Right?
I apologize.
That was the government garbage tank again. Unsubstantiated.
Yes,
Of it.
I do, yes, I do agree with that. I apologize, that was included in forensic.
No, he's referring to something that happened. I was present for it. It was something that happened afterwards. It was unrelated. But he's referring to an incident that happened where a statement was made that was not factual. And that employee later came back and did say that. And confessed that, but that's right. But it's completely different than police.
It was tied
Prior to my.
tied into accusations and into the.
Yeah, we're talking about a lot of different
Yes,
things.
we are. But again, these things go hand in hand.
Right,
Much as
right,
sometimes
and I'm
people
trying to
say no,
understand.
A lot of this stuff does go hand in hand. And it's- Eric, others?
No, other than, Tim mentioned there were other council members that questioned his questions, and that was me. I did, because those were things that I was not aware of prior to that night when we had the meeting. However, I was not on council at that time, and there may have been information that was passed among council that I didn't know about because I was a general member of the public. Just as I was back for other things that were mentioned tonight during public comment.
But they did go hand in hand, and that's the correction that I wanted to apply, that
Well,
these were related, they have some
have,
related.
like I said, that's information that I was there, and should have been because I was a member of the public at the time, and not a member of council.
I actually, Dave, thank you for explaining things. I appreciate that. I do want to state as well, I am not happy with the outcome. And this wasn't an awful lot of money. I totally agree with that. And that there was no outcome. I wanted some outcome as well. I wanted something, closure. I wanted a definite yes or no. Am I disappointed in that? Am I bothered by how this whole thing went down? The whole thing went down horribly. It went down from bad from the beginning.
I was just gonna say, sounds like
It was bad from the beginning. It did not go well in anyone's favor. I don't know, Mike, you make a very valid point. My assumption is we cannot do anything with Plant Moran. That's my assumption. Dave, is there anything, I mean, from a lawyer's perspective, is there anything that we can go back on that? Can we say, we have any value in that? I'm guessing no, but the question we ask now.
Not without paying another forensic accounting firm. But we redo it to show that they were wrong.
And Plant Moran,
And as far as suing the Michigan State Police, that's governmental.
and council at that time. And Mike, you were in a tough spot. I'm not gonna say that you were not, but council at that time, I guess I don't necessarily speak for them, but that they went upon the information that we were given. You were given the information from the state police that yes, this is warranted. We were given information from the first forensic audit that yes, well, let me start there from our general auditor, that there was an issue. You trust in those people. Then the partial audit occurred and there was, for lack of better words, yes, we need to continue. We trusted in that. And we did trust in it. And as council, that's the route that we took. And there is, again, I'm not happy without money. I am not, so I'll just leave it at that.
So much stuff. Might be cool.
Aside from that, I appreciate Dave being here. And again, I think a lot of council, I guess the question is, or let's clear this up. Our village attorney represents this board, right? So again, Danielle's got every right because she is the daily operations of this village and she has every right to reach out to Dave. I don't want to see us blowing up our costs on legal fees by you calling. That's why I like to have everybody here ask a question, get the same answer. That's my philosophy.
In my defense, let me say this, in my defense. I'm gonna say in the years that I've been on here, there's probably been 5 calls that make. Okay, it is not like a weekly call. It is not a lengthy call. It is something I'm like getting clarification for. And if you need me to, and I will reimburse the village for it. Seriously, if that's what we need me to do, I will do that. But I can count on, I feel very confident, one hand, the number of times, all the time I've been on the board, but I look at that as an option that I do have.
Absolutely.
That's how I look at that.
And maybe we should say, we call Danielle, say, hey, I
And
have a
that's
question
why-
here, now I'm gonna reach out to the lawyer.
And I,
That's the unexpected procedure.
and
The
that's,
unexpected procedure is that we ask Danielle, or we ask one of us.
and Danielle, would you concur that I contacted you, I have contacted you when I have connected with you?
Yes.
But, okay, but secondly, what I'm alluding to again, he is the village's attorney, he is the village council's attorney. And yes, Danielle's a staff member, she is the day-to-day operations, but again, very much of this stuff. But I think we feel out of the loop because we were out of the loop on a lot of it. Yes, Dave, you did present us with a lot of the information, what you could. Was there other discussions with Danielle or with prosecutor or whatever? That may have happened as well, but I think it is within our right to request that we receive it.
Yeah,
I hope council feels that.
and I will say that if I didn't email you every time I had a conversation with the prosecutor, that's true. But in my emails contained information that was over a period of time, including multiple conversations with prosecutors. So rather than dinging you every time, sending you a bunch of little emails, I made sure that when there was information that was important for you to know, I included all of that, that information as well. Maybe that worked at least in summary of that background. Did I talk with Danielle about some things? Yes. Did I talk with her about more than what I provided you in an email? Maybe only because she was able to ask questions, as is normal between me and the chief administrator of the municipality. But in the emails that I provided to you, gave you the information that I had, no matter what period of time that would provide.
But don't get me wrong, much like one of your question is who authorized or requested from the village that we dismissed that the prosecution state, right? Again, I think none of us requested that.
No, we didn't.
So
It's false.
And
No, right.
exactly, but again, we weren't heard. We weren't told, did Danielle, and again, I'm not making assumptions, but did Danielle request that? Did we request that? None of us requested that.
No.
So again, there's a lot of unanswered information I think.
And unfortunately, well, I don't know. Unfortunately, many of the questions that you have can only be answered by the Lunenburg County prosecutors. If they ultimately have discretion and control over how this case, what happened.
Do they, if we wrote them a letter, had them here, do they have to answer to us then, Dave?
No.
So when you're talking about one of those options,
No.
no. So the chances that are pretty slim enough. Okay, not that one.
Probably nothing.
Can we get a copy of the court transcripts for the case?
Sorry?
Can we get a copy of the court transcripts for the case?
Yeah, those can be requested. Probably the only one that, and again, the court, many of the court proceedings, in fact, all but maybe one of them, which I'll talk about in a second, were nothing more than status conferences, pre-trial conferences, and those are real boring about where things are, setting dates, what needs to happen.
Document information.
Yeah, it's really not that exciting and not that informative of what you're looking for. The one hearing that probably would provide the most information to you is the transcript of the preliminary examination, which occurred in district court, and that's where there were two auditors from Plant Moran testified as to the audit. There was an accountant from your previous auditing firm.
That one day they were there.
Correct. The previous auditing firm, I'm blanking off the top of my head who it was at that time, back in 2020.
Raymond,
Raymond.
The guy from Britain.
Yep. And Mr. Hudson and understand that all the preliminary examination is prosecution has to present evidence to the district court judge that there is probable cause to believe that the charged crime was committed. There's probable cause to believe that the defendant is the one who committed the crime. It's not a very high burden. It's
51%.
very, very low. A little more, but not much. It's a little bit more than a preponderance, but not a ton. There's an old saying that anyone that you can skilled prosecutor can indict a ham sandwich. That's basically what was going on. So that's why many criminal cases, preliminary examinations don't even happen. The defendants waive them. But that hearing would probably give you the most detailed information as far as what the prosecution was presenting to the judge. Now that wasn't everything, because you don't need to present and you don't want to present everything from a prosecutor standpoint. You just need to put on enough evidence that you think you're going to be able to meet that burden. Is that clear, or do anybody have questions about that process?
Court documents don't fall into the FOIA, do they?
Court documents are public records. I sent out to you one such record, which is the dismissal.
Right.
There are certain documents in a criminal case, however, that can be redacted or withheld based on the sensitivity of the information. But then again, that's up to the discretion of, if you request a complete copy of the file, the court file, the court will work with the prosecutor's office to make sure that any information that should not be disclosed is not. But other than that, much of what's in a court file would be up.
You said email, sorry, which topic said was regarding the DBA facade grant system.
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you.
If you don't, let me know tomorrow.
Yes, sir. All right, anything else for Dave? Here. Any further council discussion? Moving on, the second portion, public comment. Yeah, I say it earlier, sorry, 5-minute limit. You come to speak?
I thought to speak.
Oh.
Yeah, beginning. I wasn't going to speak until I heard the council discussion. Melissa Bernard, former advance reporter. I got for business. I'm actually now, I'm appointed to fill out the elected term about. So, hopefully on your side of the table. But anyway, when I worked at the advance, I think when it was made part of the public record, I got a copy of correct about it. And there were some things in there that, disturbed me. One of the things I thought that you had made some assumptions just based on some circumstantial evidence. And they had listed 2 types of transactions about, 192 transactions or whatever. And the one time transaction they went back to before person charged with what employee, and then took an average and said, okay, we're going to use they kind of use like an average of, there wasn't exactly a concrete total. And then I think maybe I wanted to make myself maybe understand a little more, and maybe because I know that Ms. Kester and I kind of grew up in the same type of an environment. Both our fathers were in law enforcement. And I knew, and maybe I didn't want to believe it because of that, because I knew I would not do something like that. And I was having a hard time. So I think when I started looking at it, I'm trying to get beyond that and see that. And I actually talked to probably half a dozen former current detectives, kind of asked them, like, what would you look for? What questions should I be asking? And
since I had a copy of the forensic audit and listed all the transactions and all the people that were part of that, they said, well, they've got to tie these transactions to cash. Has the detective done that? I said, not that I know of. And I talked to him a few times. And honestly, I think a disservice was done to both the village and Ms. Hester, both on the forensic audit and the investigation side. Because in my opinion, the investigation was pretty non-existent. I think he just took the forensic audit, stapled it to the first 3 interviews that he did and just submitted it to the prosecutor. And so I took the list on that. I started calling all kinds. I think I talked to at least 40 people. I have to go back and look at my phone. I documented all my conversations, date, time, what was said around. And yeah, there was a couple people that paid cash and paid in cash, but a lot of the people said they paid with check, they paid with credit card. They said, yeah, I can remember that credit would be on there. It was because I sold a house and I had all 20 years worth of renters. And all of a sudden they came back to me and said, well, yeah, you've got all these bills from these different renters that had been on that account. And I guess they went back so far and said, he said, I paid that when I sold the house, but they credited the others to his account. That there were 2 or 3 people who they had on the forensic audit, say in 2019, who never even had an account until 2020. So I cannot figure out why they should even be on there. But anyway, so they didn't, in my opinion, there was nothing tied to cash. So I think really when it came down to it, I think the prosecutor did the right thing by dismissing the charges, my opinion. But I do think that there was a disservice done to both sides. But I do appreciate your transparency, Tim, because I've had questions on those things too, because it was my understanding that Plant Grant had gone beyond the scope of the 43,000 and hadn't billed the village. So I was kind of wondering, I was hoping that the village would not be responsible for those bills, but they understood that, but I don't know, that's my understanding. But I just wanted to kind of, I think I talked to at least 40 people. Now, there was about a dozen people on that list that were dead. Some of them had died before the transaction, some had died after. There were some people I tried to get a hold of, and I just couldn't figure. I mean, they moved out of the community. There was, nobody. There was maybe 1 or 2. I remember at least one lady who would not talk to me, and I don't think she was just kind of. She had a negative, experience living too, so I didn't do that anymore. But I was like shocked when I kept talking to people. Oh yeah, I remember that, and they would say even when they had done their business and done that transaction, it was not even. Ms. Kester they hadn't talked to. So it was really interesting to hear all these conversations on that too. I just wanted to kind of add my 2 cents with. Thank you.
Any further public comment?
To be very anticlimactic after all of that, but I wanted to thank all of you for voting unanimously to keep the Parks and Rec position, because that shows the public who voted for you as your constituents that you're for them, and it shows the kids and the parents that people like the rec. Sports are really important. I very much appreciate that. And I am thrilled that when people ask me how did the vote go, they're going to be very impressed. So thank you very, very much. I appreciate it.
Well, we're looking forward to bringing in lots of sponsors. Don't worry.
How do you think all these people got?
Oh, second round.
Excuse me? Carl Harbeck. Glad this case came up tonight. I feel for this whole thing. Right now, I'm really feeling it. There's been a lot of harm done, I think, in our town, harm to our family. And I still care about it. And I know a lot of people out here have a lot more questions than we got answers for. And it really bothered me when it all came up. And as a man of facts, I try to come to council meetings. I ask about certain things so I have information and the facts. And I've learned sometimes through bad experience, open my big fat mouth and didn't know what I was talking about, found out I was wrong. So I like facts, and it just wasn't enough for me. And it's bothered me deeply, because I've known 3 of the family members, Dad, Mike, and I guess part of me has wondered if somebody's guilty, that's fine, but then I question, well, why would someone do that knowing them as I do? It's a whole lot of questions, and it's just what Mike said, if someone's guilty, okay, pay the price. Whether it's my sister, my mother, my father, if I was a cop, and mom's driving through town doing 15 over, she's getting a ticket. That's your mother. No, she gets a ticket. I'm sorry. So that's the way I am. And it's really bothered me deeply. And, you know, somebody got hurt, and the facts are, you know, the case is over, and she needs to heal. She needs to know that there are people that care about her. And I do. So hopefully we maybe finalize this whole mess and say, okay, here's the facts as we know it. Case is dismissed. Let's just final and it's over with and sick of it and done for. And let's go forward and be friendly again to, you know, Mike and his sister again and have a time of healing for her especially. I really feel for her and her family, what you've gone through it. So anyway, that's all I have to say. I just felt as though I had to say something for her sake so that she knows how I feel and others do. And it's just really tough on this town. And I hope we can at least end it maybe tonight and go forward for her sake, especially her family. So thank you very much for bringing it up. We appreciate it all. You know, and all of you too. Thank you. So.
My name and a 3-year resident of Blissfield. I've been in Illinois County for my whole life.
Matt, what's your best name?
It's one thing that I really want to make sure it's on everybody's mind is basically cost of living.
Hold it down a little bit, man. That way people don't like it.
Basically cost of living. We have record high prices across everything within this village. But one thing that's really forcing everybody to look and evaluate, especially for someone that does not have a job in the town, is do we stay here? I'm looking at possibly upgrading house and everything like that, and that's coming into a big factor. There was a house that fit my bill perfectly within the town, which I currently still reside. But property taxes was one of the biggest things. It was going to be more than 3/4 of my total mortgage. Property taxes. When I say that, I mean it would have been about 3 months. My total bill would have been property taxes. That's counting interest and everything. My total utility bills for my house, including insurance, internet, and electricity, heat, and water. Water is half of them in some months, if not more. I just want to make sure it's on everybody's mind, especially here in council, that these bills need to be addressed. We're spending money left and right. Basically, today, how much did we spend? $500,000 more. The average home in Blissfield, most recent data I could find is $62,000. Where's the money coming from? You can only tax so much. There's no revenue coming in. There's no big businesses. We don't have a Ford. We don't have a GM. We don't have anything coming in. Where's money? That's.
Thanks, Matt.
I don't usually respond or try not to, man, but again, yeah, taxes. If you look, you can look online and compare our taxes and whatnot. The ISD, the schools, huge majority, probably over 50% of our taxes on that. Again, yeah, everything's expensive, but you know, we're paying fire service for extra, we're paying township extra. It is a challenge in itself. Water, sewer, utilities, absolutely, we're definitely, you know, it's been on our radar and our discussions for years now, and we totally get it. And we're trying to be more transparent, trying to be more clear that, you know, this is what it costs. I would look at other solutions, I would look at other, you know, sources or other ways to clean and treat. Absolutely. You know, we pay those bills as well. So
how are we 8 times higher than temperance?
What's that?
How are we 8 times higher than temperance?
Because of the treatment processes, because of the upgrades to the plants that have been set forth by us on Eagle, because of the infrastructure upgrades that we've had. So again, it's paying off all of that. It's paying for it's paid for a lot more than just the treatment process.
That's one of the things, Matt, that's why tonight we went ahead and we've got that subcommittee for the water to explain in layman's terms exactly why we are, where we are, and where we're gonna go in the future, where we hope to go in the future. Your questions are very valid.
You see the bills coming down every.
No, we won't. No, if we told you right now that the water bill is gonna go down next year, we would be lying to you.
We see any of the bills ever going down.
I can't speak for that, but the water and the sewer, I just don't see that happening at this point. No, sir, I don't.
I'm just.
I know, we pay, I paid the same $185 last. I felt choke when I paid my bill as well, and we all do, because we all are village residents as well. We understand your pain. You're right with your data with the median income, you're absolutely spot on with what you got going on there. It's very, very challenging.
It is sitting up here, absolutely. Again, you've got a full house in here wanting us to spend, you know, I mean, on parks and rec, things like that. And again,
But let's
when you
clarify.
when you take something away, something else has
But
to give.
the
That is
water and sewer are separate,
100%.
and that may be something that you may not realize, that our water and our sewer are not part of our general fund. They are two separate entities.
There's no difference between a water bill and taxes. You gotta pay them regardless.
I understand.
Regardless, you can say utility bill, you might as well just say tax. Because you're gonna be paying it no matter what. It's sort of like gas in the car. It's a commodity.
Yes.
You have to pay it. So you might as well, it's interchangeable. Both are controlled by the village.
Well. Okay.
To an extent,
To an extent, yes, but I won't go into the weeds with you, but yes, the
I'll
big
try to-
picture, no, that's okay. The big picture is we all recognize that our costs for water, sewer, absolute. Mike makes a very good point. I know I looked at my bill, it's due here in February, and I looked at what the ISD cost is. It's atrocious. And I'm pro education, but I'm looking at that bill going, we need to revisit this. That's a lot of money, a lot of money.
Absolutely valid point. So,
Thank you. Thank you for waiting to speak up.
anybody else? Go to 10. Anyone?
Okay.
No. 5 minutes. All right. Moving on then, next meeting is February 9th. Nobody has anything further? Council, Lisa, anyone? Lee? No, you're working on your yearly report. We didn't have you on the. What? Your yearly reports become.
I submitted the annual report.
All right, other than that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn at 9:23 p.m.
I'll support it.
A motion, Bill, second here to adjourn 9:23 p.m. Lisa, please call the.
Tim? Ken?
Yes.
Gwen?
Yes.
Sherry?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
Bill? Mike?
All right, thank you, everybody.